Let's camera action.
You hope... don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself. But go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me...
That it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Ah, fuck you! Just a flesh wound.
Hello.
I wasn't sure if we were going to come in one at a time. I was like, "Oh, do I need to be ready or not?"
Yeah, no, I used to do that, but nowadays it's just easier just to
just can't be asked pressing the buttons, mate, can you?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
You've given up. That's what it is. You just can't be asked anymore.
No, if it was really that, I wouldn't do all the stuff I do for the intros. Plenty of button pushing there. How is everybody?
Very good, mate.
As well as can be expected.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and
even fatter after Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. I should point out to everyone that we've got Pete back from Pedro's movie Cavern. We had him on as a guest on the action stream. Martin wasn't on that one, so this is different for Martin. He hasn't been on a stream with Pete before. But Pete obviously knows his stuff when it comes to film, so it's always good to have him on here. So that's why I asked him if he wanted to come on again. And as we're talking about films from last year, obviously during the action movies, we was talking about quite a few films from last year. So, I dare say a few of them are going to come up again. But obviously, there were some good films. There were some really bad films. And then there was some, they're all right, But I think in the last few years, I would say last year was probably a little less offensive when it came to films. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
I don't even remember what came out last year.
Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it? I think maybe we've had a few years of not great, and therefore our expectations have been lowered, and therefore some mediocre films we're probably now calling great films because, but I guess I don't grade them every year, so I wouldn't necessarily know. But yeah, maybe it feels like there's some good ones, whether they're great or not, I don't know, but good ones.
Well, I mean, when I say a little less offensive, I don't necessarily mean great, but I mean I meant more from this agenda side of things. It felt like we was starting to sort of turn a corner slightly last year, where things might have been. There was a few films I think where males were allowed to be heroes, for example. That were a little less offensive to us males. Let's just put it that way.
Oh dear.
So, because when I actually go through some of the films I've been watching, you'll get what I mean when I start mentioning them. Because there's quite a few in there actually, surprisingly, without any wokeness. Would you believe? So
I don't believe you.
Yeah. Well, there was. I'm just going to quickly run through the comments. Bloody hell, there's a few here already. So we have got Mr. ZX Tetley. How you doing, Lee? Got Alex, You Star Gamer. Don't know what this guy wants. He just won't go away, him. Like, he's always here.
Like a bad smell.
Oh, look. Tetley, what?
What?
And we've got Pixel Plug. How you doing, sir? I think a lot of it's now like them talking to each other there. Oh, no, we've got Retro Bait as well. Oh, Rock and Roller. I haven't had Rock and Roller in the chat for a while.
Hello, Trev.
I'd like to get Trev on here at some point because he likes his films as well, doesn't he?
He does. He does, to be fair.
Last time when I did, one of them sort of laid back streams, do you remember he was on there and he was getting blamed for the sound issues and it was bloody Tetley, wasn't it? Yeah, poor sod got blamed for it. Right, okay. Yeah, the rest is just everyone saying hello to each other.
Yeah.
I'm going to click that. So, what do you want to do first, guys? Do you want to do the bad first and get it out of the way? Or do you want to do the good first? Or do you want to do the middle of the road? I don't know. What do you want to... What's your preference?
Maybe we should do a shit sandwich and do some good, some bad, and then some good.
Shit sandwich.
Okay.
You know that expression before? That's where you put the bad news in the middle. If you're going to deliver someone bad news, give them a bit of good news, then bad news, and then finish with a bit of good news.
Well, I actually did use that term the other day in one of the WhatsApp groups. So it's funny that you've said that, actually. Right, okay. All right. Well, how about, here's an idea. How about we go around, we all pick a film that we thought was the best of last year. We can start it that way, and then we could maybe pick one that we thought was the worst. We could start that way, yeah? That way, as we put it, Martin, we're starting our shit sandwich. Right, okay. So I'll go first then. I think I've said this. You guys will know this probably already. I've said it many times already, but a favourite for me last year was Sisu. I really enjoyed Sisu. It seemed like a return back to films done on a lesser budget that was, no fluff. It was to the point, a very simple 90s style action film, very reminiscent of your revenge style movies like Rambo, etc. Just the sort of films I really enjoy. And as a result, I really liked Sisu. I thought it was a great film. Lee?
Just one. No, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I really enjoyed that movie. I really, really did. I went to the cinema twice to see it, and then I watched it illegally a few times, and then I got it on, obviously, 4K Blu-ray Steelbook, and over Christmas I watched it about 1 million times on Sky. I just think it's one of those films that if you actually break it down, I'd love to do a video on it, but it's probably been done loads now. But when you break it down, there's so much in the background. There's where Spider-Punk is drawn, the colors, the textures, and the way Gwen's drawn, and the way Miles is drawn, and then like Vulture. There's so much you can see in it if you just watch it slowly. So every time I've watched it, I've seen something different. And I just think it's great, and it's really cool because Marvel have been so shit for the last couple of years. Where I always used to say DC would smash Marvel for anime, for cartoons. This year for the cartoons, Marvel with just that one has completely smashed DC in my books. But Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Can't wait for the third movie.
I was going to add, Lee, I think a great use of music in that film as well. I love the way he's like the artwork's amazing. Like it does. I love all the different genres and styles. But I think the way it then overlays music into that as well, they've done such a great job with that. It's really good.
Can I just point out, not Disney though. Interesting, that, isn't it?
Yeah, no, again, but you always, you say Marvel, don't you? But it's like the Sonyverse, if you want to say, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
and
but
Sony
Sony's only making hits with the Spider-Man movies. The other movies that they've done, Morbius and Venom, have been flops.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't got
Why are they concentrating?
Why? No, I don't understand. No, you're right.
No, the Spider-Man, both of them, the first one and the second one, mint movies, absolutely just fantastic films.
But you know, with Morbius, they sold us down the lane because the first trailers you saw the Spider-Man mural on the wall, and you were like, oh wow, and then it mentions Venom, and you thought, oh wow, and then when you saw the film, you're like, huh? And then the ending, With Vulture, you're like, huh? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, rule of thumb is if you've got Jared Leto in a film, it's going to be crap, and that answered that for me, really.
Yeah, he's so disappointing.
He's not good. Like every film he's in is terrible. Like, but anyway, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Martin, what's your choice?
I've got a few, but I'll pick one that I don't think anyone else is going to pick, and that's because of my background. So I'm going to say the Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out. I really enjoyed that. We went to the cinema to see that, and it was what I go to the cinema to get an escape from. So as a D&D player, as a big tabletop war gamer, most of the time these movies are awful because they just don't do a very good representation in film. But this was one that was a proper good like romp. It was a good sort of adventure. There was really good comedy in it. The CGI was well done. Each of the characters that actually are D&D characters were in there and they played their part. Like I had the Red Wizards and all these sorts of things in it. And I just thought it was done well. I mean, it's not going to win any awards. It's not amazing, but that genre of movie is normally terrible. You know, Jason Statham's done some in the past, and some other people have done them, and they've been pretty atrocious. But I've seen that several times now, and every time I've watched it, I've loved it. You know, my kids still talk about the gelatinous cube that's in it and stuff like that, and you know, they've got all the druid in there doing all of its shape shifting, and they've just done a really good job with it. So I probably a little surprise one for me was the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Good choice.
That was one I was going to try and watch over the last few days, but I just run out of time.
Yeah,
it's worth watching.
I just want to address something in the comments here. I mean, Terrifier 2, not watched it myself. I'm not a massive horror fan, so but this one here, Violent Night. Now I thought that was the end of 2022, wasn't it? I didn't think that was last year.
I think, is he getting confused with Silent Night? Maybe,
but we'll talk about that later because I've watched that. Yeah.
Actually, I forgot I've seen that film. Yes, one to add to my list, Silent Night. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's this. I'm sure Violent Night.
Violent Night's the one that's got the guy that played the new Hellboy in it and Stranger Things. David Harbour.
Yeah, he plays Santa, doesn't he?
He was last year, wasn't it? Year before.
I think it was 2022 because it was Christmas, wasn't it? It came out at Christmas.
I'm sure.
This one here, this is one I definitely wanted to watch, but
awesome film.
Unfortunately, didn't have the option.
Awesome.
And this one I watched today, but again, I want to talk about this one later because this film. Yeah, we'll talk about it later because that's going to take some unpacking. That one. Hang on, what's this comment here?
I'll be interested in your views on it, Lee, because it's a film that, in my older age, actually, I don't think I can watch that kind of movie anymore. So I'll be interested to see. Like, I don't deal great with movies that have like child abuse in or child kidnapping and stuff like that. Just something as I get older, I get really emotional around those films.
Don't worry.
I don't watch films to get emotional. So
don't worry, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Because there's a lot to unpack from that. I've got to be honest. I mean, a couple of you already know I was messaging during the day while I was watching it. So a couple of you probably have an idea of where I'm going with it. But yeah, definitely Violent Night, not Silent Night. Yeah, I'm sure Violent Night was 2022. But anyway,
I've just checked it. It's 2022.
Yeah, Silent Night was 2023. Yeah, Pete, your favourite film of last year? Hang on, if we lost Pete, I've got no sound.
I can lip read really good.
I can't hear you, buddy.
I think he's saying, "Fuck, I haven't plugged the wire in." Oh,
I think he said it's Shazam was his favourite movie of 2023.
I think he did say Shazam.
Working?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it had cut out.
Neither did I till you started talking.
The film is that good. It broke the microphone.
It was that good.
Yeah.
I said, do I go with the obvious or do I choose maybe not so obvious? I'm gonna go with the maybe not so obvious because I talked about the other two films quite a bit in the action. Megan.
Oh yeah.
Robot Dog.
I forgot about Megan. Yes,
that film was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
that film was amazing. The fact they advertised it as a horror film, and then the film came out, and it was essentially a comedy. It was like a piss take of the Chucky movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a bit Terminator-y as well.
Yeah.
But knew exactly what it was. And knew it was almost a parody of those type of horror films. And it was just so much fun. Absolute. I sat and watched it with my brother, and he never watches horror films. And we watched it, and we were just like, that film was absolutely awesome. It was an hour and a half. That's all you needed.
Yeah.
It told the story. It was funny. It was action-packed. It had great visual effects in it. There was a creepy moment where she danced in the hallway, which...
hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that's how they managed to sell the film. There's there was something else in it. The killing spree at the end only lasted for like 2 minutes. Not even that. And then she goes outside and gets into like a Lamborghini. And it reminds me, do you remember the film from the 80s called Daryl?
Yes.
Oh,
I was a little kid who was like a robot kid, and he was adopted by he ran away. And then at the end, he flies this stealth bomber.
That's
right. It kind of reminded me of that. Like this robot kid just comes out, jumps in a Lambo, and shoots off. It was mental, but it was so much fun. And I think that's what was missing from films at that point. And it came out because January is the month that you dump all the films that you expect to do crap. So in January, you see a lot of like genre films, horror movies, like stuff. Another one which was on my list, I'm not going to choose that one now, but was Plane, the film with Gerard Butler.
Yes.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
That was dumped at the start of the year. And that again, that's another like under 2 hour action film that is absolutely just enjoyable from start to finish. But Megan was I've watched Megan like 6 times now, and every time I watch it, I love it. So that's why I put it on. That's why I chose the robot doll.
The thing with Megan I found is when you're watching it, you're like, this is really good, but then at the same time, you're in the back of your head, you're going, but it's really creepy, like you know, because there are scenes where they've obviously replaced the whatever they use, like the CGI or whatever, with an actual kid with a wig on. You can see that, can't you?
Yeah.
And when you actually see like the back of what is, you know, whoever it is, like I say, I'm guessing a kid, it just looks so creepy, like the way it's moving, you know. It's very creepy. It's well done.
There's a scene in the film which is a scene in the film which is not only it's hugely creepy, but it's also massively cringy as well. Is where she stands over the little girl and she starts singing Titanium by, I think it's Sia. And it's just such a random, creepy but cringy moment as well. That you just go, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, Megan's awesome, and I highly recommend everyone watch it.
Yeah, I would say if you're a fan of things like you said earlier, like Child's Play and that, you're going to enjoy it, aren't you? You know, and it's just a slightly like different take and a little bit more up to date. That's all, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah,
but really good. I did enjoy that. I totally forgot to put that on my list. You know, it's like we were saying earlier, trying to remember everything we've watched. You know, some things are going to slip between the cracks, aren't they? Right. Okay. So we've all picked our favourite film. Oh God! Now I've got to pick. Now we'll do our worst. This is a tough one because, oh God, there's 2 that could easily be the worst. I think. I'm not going to go with the really obvious one because people are expecting me to do it because I've got this T-shirt on. You know, make Lucasfilm great again. People are expecting me to do it, but I imagine Martin's probably going to pick it, so I'll leave that.
I like to go a little bit off because everyone knows the terrible ones. Try and pick something else.
Right, well, I'm going to go, and this has got to be the worst film I'd seen. Expendables 4.
Oh,
that film is bloody awful. Have you watched it?
Yes.
Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? I mean, I thought Expendables 3 was bad, but this one's another level. It's like all levels of wrong. Like it's just a really bad film. You know, there's silly little jokes where they're making Gunner look stupid, and you know, and when he drinks, he can't shoot straight, and all the little jokes, and then literally taking Stallone out of his own movie. You know,
That's why I haven't watched it, because obviously Expendables, the point of Expendables, it was fan service. Right? The point of Expendables was to bring all of our 80s and 90s action stars to film and do something crazy and bonkers with them, and we would love it. And of course we would. We'd lap it up, right? And then by Expendables 3, like Expendables 4, I look at that list of people and I'm like, who the frick are they? There's obviously a couple of them kept in there, but the majority of them are new people I've never heard of. Like, why are they in this movie?
I mean, I couldn't believe they put Megan Fox in it. Like the part where she's fighting, I was like, I'm not buying this at all.
No.
Like, not at all. Like, especially the part when she's like very petite and she's battering a guy that's like nearly 3 times her weight. It's like, come on, what's going on here? Like, you know,
it lost the point of why it was a movie. It was a movie to just pay fan service to the greats from that era of film, and I don't know what it's trying to be now, but it's certainly not got the great heroes from the times gone, is it?
Well, the other thing I think that really notices, the other thing I think that really notices with this film is that it was obvious that because there was a fallout between Stallone and the people doing it. And the idea then was, well, we're going to push Statham. He's meant to be the future. But the problem is, like, we've seen Statham in a lot of B movies. Like, he's not always that great as a lead actor, I don't think. And it notices in that film. He's not good in that film. And I think that's why it suffers a lot, But sorry, Pete, go on. You was going to say something. Sorry, mate.
Well, so Expendables 3, the whole reason that film flopped was because they took out the Expendables and introduced the younger people like Ronda Rousey and people like that, and that was the reason it flopped. And they were like, right, we won't do it again. The next Expendables movie will be R-rated. It'll go back to the violence of the first film, and then Expendables 4 comes out, and they've removed all the Expendables and replaced them with younger people again. Which is exactly the reason the third film failed.
Yeah.
So it's like,
where was Terry Crews?
Why even bother making it then? I think the only ones they had back were Randy Couture and Dolph Lundgren, wasn't there? Apart from obviously Stallone's very small cameo essentially in it, and Statham being in it. But no one wants to see Megan Fox.
No.
Although you do get to see Statham fighting Iko Uwais, so
we've
seen the Raid. That's going to be a match. It's like War, the Jet Li versus Jason Statham fight. The film's crap, but the fight was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, you got Tony Jaa in it as well. Don't forget.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
And that I thought that was unfortunate as well, because it's like, well, Tony Jaa is a pretty good martial artist, right? But when they put him in that film, and you didn't get much time with him, and it just I don't know. It's just like you put a good fighter, like a good known martial artist, in a really bad film, and he's playing that character, because if I'm right, he's the one that won't fight, isn't he? And then he ends up fighting, which we all knew was going to happen anyway. I mean, that's the other thing. The film's so predictable; it's unreal. But yeah. So that's my bad one. Chef, what's yours?
Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. That was so bad. I mean,
I avoided it, so I can't say, but I knew it would be bad.
Yeah, like I really like Ant-Man. The two films we had, I quite enjoyed. I loved the way they shrink stuff, and like when you saw the scenes of it, I thought it was great. When the car gets small and he's got the matchbox with the cars and they get big. I thought it was great with Michael Douglas, who was really cool. He looks old as fuck though. But then it just got, with the quantum realm, you thought, this is going to be really, really interesting, because it's the start of phase 5 or phase 5, phase 4, whatever the bloody phase we're meant to be on.
Phase 5. It's phase 5. Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to be interesting, because you're going to see Kang properly with it. Well, I know we saw him in Loki, but you're going to see him as a real baddie now this time, and we're going to get a bit of momentum with him. And then all of a sudden, Michelle Pfeiffer's had a different life with Bill Murray. Bill Murray's there, and I was just like, what? And then I thought I was in the cantina down in Tatooine with all the monsters and all the aliens, and I was just like, I don't know what is going on. It just got really stupid. and then the fight with Kang and Ant-Man was just
worst.
Was like, I just don't get it, because Kang would literally just rip him, flick him like that, and destroy him.
He loses in a fist fight with a normal human being, and he's supposed to be the next big evil in the Marvel universe, and Ant-Man can beat him in a fist fight.
Yeah.
It's like,
you know, like I say this a lot to when people ask me about Marvel, about Phase 3 and 4. I say there's one scene that I never forget, and I'll never forget it, and I never will forget it. Thanos hands Hulk his ass in Infinity Wars. Like hands it to him, and I was just like, that would never happen. That would never. But you know, like that really like gave us a sign what was to come.
And what was even better in that scene, Lee, is when the sorcerer guy goes, "No, let him have his fun." Like they all know that Thanos is going to kick Hulk's ass, and his whole squad go, "Nah, let him have his play. He wants that. He wants to have a play." Like it's like he's that small to him. I think that's brilliant. That bit.
You heard the Hulk whimper. Like, so, you know, like, and I was just like, wow, we are going to see something special. And then with this, I was like, huh?
Yeah, like, you've gone from Thanos to Kang. Yeah, I see your point.
You know, like, because don't get me wrong, in one universe, Kang is Reed Richards' dad. I know it's really far-fetched, but in one universe of Marvel Comics, Reed Richards' dad, which I forgot his dad's name now, but he is Kang. But through the quantum world, he's gone mad. But in this one, it's just terrible. And we've just had a very steady, deep roller coaster decline of Marvel films since then.
Can I point out something though, right?
Yes, sir.
You shouldn't be surprised by this, right? Because Disney's got form, right? Let's not forget, Force Awakens, they had their main bad guy lose to someone who wasn't trained. And now in Ant-Man 3, you've got a normal person losing to Kang. You see, it's the same problem over and over, isn't it?
Do you know the one thing I really don't get, all right, with all the Marvel stuff is everyone was talking so much about Kevin Feige, talking about him so much. Oh, he's great. He's this, he's that. So what's happening?
It's because it's not him, is it? That's the point. He took credit for other people's work. That's why.
Exactly. So now he looks like a bum. So I'm just, and you know, like me and you both, and Martin, and I'm sure Pete to an extent. I mean, you know, I love Marvel. Like Marvel has shaped my life when it comes to comics and stuff. You know,
that's what I grew up with.
Yeah. So seeing this, I mean, you know, like. You watch the old Spider-Man, the old original ones, where they turn the camera upside down, so he's walking up the wall. Like it's they're better than the Quantum Mania. You know, like I don't know. It's just really shocking, and it really, really. And that was February, and I was just like, wow, it cannot get any worse. It did.
Yeah. And that's why, obviously, there's a lot of criticism to why we don't like the movies now, but. I can tell you, it hurts a lot because we saw them put 26 movies together in almost, you know, like in a line, and they all made sense by the end, and everyone had pretty much closure on all the storylines and stuff. And then it just literally, I mean, I knew it would. When you see, obviously, I know a lot of people prefer Infinity War to Endgame, and I would agree. I think the ending to Infinity War, when I walked out of that cinema, I was like shocked that happened.
Yeah,
I was literally like, I can't believe it's killed off half the Marvel universe. But
the Empire Strikes Back of Marvel, wasn't it?
100%.
Yeah, when you come out from Infinity War and you were done. I knew from that point that they weren't going to continue. I knew it weren't going to be anywhere near as good, and it's proved to be the case. You know,
but you know,
it flew too close to the sun. Some might say, you know, maybe.
You know what another thing? Sorry, what annoys me is I wouldn't mind if it was a new character with no source material to go off. They've got years and years of alternate universes of Ant-Man. You know, whether it was Scott Lang, not even just him, because I can't blame the actors. You know, like people always, you know, it really, really pissed me off in February when I saw that. I was just like, what?
What you got to remember, right, is that the people who did the good films up until Endgame some of them people are no longer there. This is why you're seeing this problem.
Yeah.
You know, like Feige took the credit for a lot of other people's work, and now they're not there. You're now seeing it. The cracks are showing, you know. I mean, Doctor Strange before that was awful as well. Like I couldn't stand that.
The Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, terrible.
That's probably my biggest disappointment.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm an Evil Dead fan, so watching Sam Raimi make a
What I will say,
Doctor Strange movie, but just making an Evil Dead movie for 12-year-olds is
but he had his hands tied. Come on, like it would have been much better if he could have done what.
But they missed again such an amazing opportunity. Scarlet Witch should be the next big bad. Why did they kill her off? She blows Kang away, and you want powerful women in movies. Scarlet Witch would have been amazing if we'd made her into the next big bad for the next phase of movies. She could have wished mutants into existence, like in the comics where she wishes them out of existence. That'd have been a perfect way to bring them in, right? There's a million things they could have done, and they just killed her off in one film. That's it. She's gone, in one movie.
She's not dead though. She's coming back.
Well,
she's going to be
maybe
in the
not,
Avengers. She'll be in the Avengers.
Again, what we're saying, the history, House of M is such a great story, you know. And we had the Scarlet Witch TV show, and you know, because Vision dies a couple of times in the comics, but the last time he dies, he gets this disease which melts and destroys robot like metal, and he evaporates in front of Scarlet Witch, and she just clicks and goes mad. So, and the House of M, the scenes with Wolverine, putting that into a movie, because I think that late whatever her name is, I always forget her name, whoever plays Scarlet Witch, I think she's really good at it. But then when you saw the Multiverse of Madness, and then it's again, we've had Doctor Strange now for 3 movies. Well, I say 3 movies.
I don't know, but let's move on because this is turning into a
sorry, never mind. Never mind.
Martin.
Damn you, Martin. Damn you.
Well, let's not go too far away from Marvel, and let's now talk about DC movies.
Right, okay. I know where this is going then.
So I could pick one or the other basically, but I'll pick. I mean, I could pick either Shazam or Flash, but the Flash movie for me was just again a massive disappointment. I mean, within the first 10 minutes, that movie is trash. The whole catching babies out of a hospital scene.
Oh yeah,
feels like it came off a PlayStation 2. It's like it's just horrendous.
Was that good?
Yeah, maybe that's doing it. Maybe that's doing it too good.
N64, mate. N64.
Yeah.
We were tricked into going to see that movie because Michael Keaton came back as Batman. You had me at Michael Keaton as Batman. I'm gonna go and see it. That was my ticket money right there. And he is the best thing in the movie without a shadow of a doubt. Actually didn't mind Spider-Girl either. Supergirl. I didn't actually mind her in it either. Spider-Girl, Supergirl in it either. But the Flash in his own movie is awful. The CGI is awful. It's just done terribly throughout. And I just that first scene. Maybe they can make a new cut of that movie and cut that entire first scene out of the film. I might go into it with a better view. I don't think I would, but that took me out of it straight away. The bit he takes a baby out of a microwave at one point, and the scene, if you freeze frame that scene, oh my gosh, it's like that was the Apprentice's week to do the CGI, and they came in and did a really cruddy job basically. So Marvel, pretty horrific year. But I would say DC equally in both, and Shazam's the same. Shazam is how to fight 2 old ladies with the power of family. That's what that was.
Very disappointing.
Can I point something out with the Flash that has always got me right? Whose idea was it to hire the one guy who can't run properly to play a character that runs? I mean, what is this with his arms all about when he's running? What's that? Like, who runs like that? Is that meant to actually make me believe that he's super fast, or is that meant to make me believe, oh wow, this guy can't fucking run?
I'm still.
It's how he's drawn in the comics, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's how he's drawn.
His arms don't go like that, do they? Like,
The thing is, in that movie, there is a good movie wanting to be told, but they've done such a terrible job of it. Like,
if you go from the comic or the I want to say manga all the time. Sorry, the cartoon movie. Wow, like the cartoon movie Flash Paradox is awesome.
Yeah.
And then when you see this, it just some of the best bits in it. It's not even the main characters. Like Michael Shannon, General Zod. I thought his role, picking up the role, was great.
Yeah,
like, he was probably the next best thing to Keaton in that film. Yeah,
mate. Yeah, I thought he was great.
But even it seems like he's phoning it in. Do you not think? Right? Because I saw one of his interviews where he actually they said to him, this is what he said in the interview. When they approached him about being in it, he was like, "Why am I going to be in it? I thought my character's dead." You know. And they were like, "Oh no, what you don't understand." And he still sat there and was like, "I don't get it." Like he actually didn't understand it. You know.
It's just like Martin said, it's a movie that should have made loads of money, and we should have all been like, "Wow," wow, because I was always kind of confused what Batman we would get, because obviously in Flash Paradox we had Thomas Wayne, Bruce's dad, where the story changes, where Bruce and Martha die, and his dad's alive, and he's Batman, and he's a killer. He kills. He's got guns, and it's such a cool story. And I was like, we get that, that's cool. But if we get Michael Keaton, that's fine as well. I was happy either way. But it's just so strange, man.
Yeah,
it's just so.
The only positive I took from it was if they've convinced Keaton to put the suit back on, maybe we'll get an old man Batman or Batman of the future where he can play. That's the only thing. I walked out there going, "Oh man, we could actually get a movie of Batman to the future or Old Man Batman."
Me and Chef had this discussion on Second Chance Comics. We actually had this discussion, didn't we? And we think they should do Batman Beyond, where Keaton is the old man Batman. You know, the guy that's telling him what to do. You know, how to get around things. Yeah, that's definitely, he should be the mentor in that. Without a doubt, they should get on that.
Because he still got it right. Keaton stepped into that role, and it's like I was back in 1989 or whatever it was, and it was freaking awesome. I was like, the moment I saw him on screen, I was literally elbowing my kids, going, "That's the real Batman. That's who he is. That's him."
And again, there's great source material for all of these stories, and then we get that, and like Batman of the Future, if they do that right.
Yeah.
Well, if we ever get it, that's another conversation.
Right. Speaking of other conversations, Pete, what's your worst film from last year?
I don't want to be the one to say it because it was the one we're all thinking.
I know what you're going to say. It's the one I was going to say, right?
It pissed me off so much, but I don't want to be the one to say it, so someone else can say it. Rebel
You're the
Moon.
last one, so
Rebel Moon.
Someone else can say it. We'll talk about it later. Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's Netflix sci-fi adventure thing. Is
Zack
slow
Snyder.
motion Star Wars. It's slow motion Star Wars. It's crap.
Yes.
It has moments. It's a film that has at points it has stunning cinematography, and then at other points it looks like the Resident Evil cutscene. The story is just A New Hope with a little bit of John Carter thrown in. It's
some Warhammer 40Ks in there as well. Some Warhammers in there, definitely.
And Seventh Samurai or Battle Beyond the Stars. Yeah.
There's a bit where she goes to a cantina to try and find a pilot.
Yeah. And get to your ships. That line's literally out of Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff stolen in that.
It's just so confused. Like, I don't understand. It wants to be like about 5 movies. Like the whole scene with the guy taming the Griffin and then doing the John Carter jump off the mountain to land on the Griffin. That doesn't. There's nothing happened. Like that whole section. Apart from he now joins the gang, like nothing.
It's a filler scene. That's it.
Griffin doesn't show up later in the movie to save someone in a dying moment, or like there's no payoff. It's like why did this whole scene happen?
Let's not forget. Oh, this is Tarek. Sorry, did you say Turok? No, Tarek. Oh, sorry, you can. I'm confused because they're identical. Like it looks like Turok, right? Anyway, sorry.
I was kind of intrigued to see where he'd go with it because it was originally pitched as a Star Wars film to Lucasfilm, and they obviously turned it down. They would have just looked at it and gone, "No." But when the first trailer came out, I was just like, "It looks intriguing. I'll give it a try." I'm a big sci-fi Star Wars fan, huge Star Wars fan. So I wanted to see where he could have taken Star Wars had it been commissioned by Lucasfilm. Thank God it wasn't. But then we do know what they've released.
I would still rather watch this than a sequel trilogy film. I'll be honest.
It's got a Vaseline lens. Everything is slow motion. The music's
color grading.
CGI is all over the place. Why has what's his name got an Irish accent?
Yes. Yeah, I wondered that.
When he spoke, I was just like, why is he Irish?
Yeah.
Like, the guy's from Newcastle.
Yes.
He's from Newcastle.
Yeah.
Why Irish? Like some of there's a mismatch of accents that just don't make any sense. Like all the villagers are Norwegian. Like
can I point out
his name
something?
is Irish.
Right? They're capable of interstellar travel, right? But they still don't have comm systems in their ships. The bit where he's shouting to the pilots, it's like, what the fuck? You've invented a ship that goes from galaxy to galaxy, but you don't have a phone. Like,
and somehow your voice is louder than whatever propulsion engine is running that ship. Like it's probably roaring at some ridiculous loudness to keep that ship afloat. And yet I'm going to shout my orders at you and hope you hear them.
Yeah,
the Spider Queen fight thing. Like, what was all that about? She goes there. They all stand around and watch her have the fight with this mechanical mutant spider thing. And only halfway through the fight does she think, this is now where I'm going to turn my laser swords on. She doesn't do it from the beginning like you would do. Go into the fight and think, shit, this is going to be a tough fight. I need to get my laser swords out and kill this. No, I'll have a go with sharpness first, and then I'll turn lasers on afterwards because it'll be quite cool when I do it.
That scene is almost exactly the same as the scene at the beginning of Solo, where they go to I want to say the crime lord in the big giant slug thing. It's exactly the same. It's the same scene. Yeah. So also, not only is he stolen from classic Star Wars, he's stolen from shit Star Wars.
Well, I mean, did you notice also that the woman they picked to do the sword fighting is absolutely terrible at sword fighting? Did you notice that? I mean, that was not good choreography at all. Clearly, that
casting. The casting is just so wrong. Apart from Sophia Boutella is pretty good as the main character.
I like her.
Ed Skrein is massively miscast as the villain. He's crapping pretty much everything. He was the one who did there was
Deadpool.
Technically Transporter 4, but not the Transporter 4 because it was a reboot. He played the Frank Martin character in the Transporter Refueled, which is a terrible film. But he's crap in almost everything. Yeah, he's the main villain in this, and he's about as intimidating as a sock.
Yeah.
I hope. So I hope that the female lead character. My hope is in the next movie we find out that she's bionically enhanced in some way.
Oh yeah,
because at the moment she's like probably what do we reckon? I don't know. She doesn't weigh much more than very small person. She's taking full on face punches to people twice her size. She's literally punching people across a room, and they let their feet come off the ground when she hits them. I mean, that's how hard she hits. And she can hip toss them. She can do all this, which I'm completely okay with someone being martial artly trained, but she's taken out of the movie when it's unbelievable. When she has to be enhanced in some way. She either has to have a robot arm, or she has to be on some genetic enhancement things or something, because she's superhuman compared to everyone around her. And that kind of
one of the things that bugged me the most, and I'm going to say spoilers on this one because this is literally the end of the film. I just thought the end was stupid because it's another one of them situations like with The Force Awakens. You know, you have your main bad guy get beaten, and you know, like obviously in The Force Awakens, he's in the next film, right? In this, it's like we're going to bring him back at the end. So it's like, right, okay. So number one, where's the payoff? Where's the payoff? Like, what was the point in that ending? And number two, you brought him back. So now I'm meant to believe he's going to be better in the next film, am I? Like, maybe if you bring him back enhanced, so he's got a reason to be better, or maybe bring in someone who's bigger and badder than him, but you don't bring back the same guy as he is back into the next film. And the best part was when he says to him, if you fail me, I'll kill you. It's like, well, that's not much of a threat to a guy that was just dead a second ago, is it? Well, it's not, is it? Like, I'll kill you. Oh, what, you mean you'll do what you did, what happened already? Oh, okay. Like, you know, yeah, stupid film. Yeah.
Crap film.
But
and the whole bit at the end, talking about the slow-mo stuff, that whole bit at the end where the guy runs up the side of the ship and takes about 5 minutes to run up the side of the ship, then jumps through the air and spears through the window, missing the guy. Like, no one does anything while that's going on, and this is the biggest threat. Like, if he achieves his objective, he's going to take down that ship, and you know they're going to lose the fight. No one shoots at him. No one does it. They all just stand and watch him do his amazing feat of acrobatics where he jumps through the air, and he's even got enough time to take it out and then stand. I know he gets shot by the guy who's piloting. Thank God he had some sense and had a handgun on him, but he still gets stabbed, and no one tries to stop him, and that destroys the entire ship and leads to them losing that battle. I'm like, wow, you're all pretty useless.
I mean, my problems with this film, I mean, like, for example, I think Sam Raimi's overrated anyway, right? He always has weird colour grading in his films. Like Pete's already said, he uses way too much slow-mo. I mean, that was just unnecessary. Like, it's like if you'd have took most of that out, that film probably would have finished 20 minutes earlier than it did, probably. Like, how much slow-mo do you need? I mean, I get it when you've got a guy diving through the air and he's about to put a spear through the cockpit of that ship. At that point, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But there's times when he's got slow-mo going and it's just wind blowing through somewhere, or like against the leaves or something, and it's slow-mo. And it's like, why? Why have you done that? Like, you know?
That runtime.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's yeah.
Paid by the minute.
Yeah.
What you think? This is the problem, right? And I've said this to you guys before. You know, back in the day, they had to restrict them to 90 minutes, 2 hours, because the price of film was expensive.
Yes.
And so that had to come into the budget. So as a result, you've got a lot sleeker films. The problem now is, because it's digital, they don't have this restriction. So as a result, these directors now pretty much just take the piss, don't they? You know, they're like, oh, well, I'll stick in exactly what I want in this. Now, I've seen fans online going, oh, it'll all be fixed in the Snyder Cut. I'm sorry, but Snyder fans, you can't use that excuse every time a film gets fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep using that same excuse. You know? It
should add to it, right? Like, if I think of the Lord of the Rings, I just realised
I said Sam Raimi earlier, didn't I? I meant Snyder.
It's all right. We'll let you off.
If I think of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, right, those movies are excellent. Now, if I think about the extended versions of those films, which are like 3 to 4 hours long, they make the excellent film even better. They add more to the film. Like, it was a great movie in the beginning. The first cut was great, so I enjoyed that. So you know what? Yes, I will go back and watch a 3.5 hour version of Return of the King because it will be brilliant. But I'm not going to watch a 4 hour version of this movie because the 3 hour version of it was pretty crappy in the first place. Yeah. So why am I going to do that?
Yeah, it just seems to be their go-to. Every time he screws a film up, it's like, oh, we'll get a Snyder Cut. It's like, so you can't use that excuse all the time. Like, you can't. Like, you know, just be honest. He fucked this film up. Like, there's no excuse for it.
I think specifically with the Justice League, it deserved his vision to come out because of what Joss Whedon fucked up with on the original Justice League.
Yeah.
So even though I wasn't a massive fan of Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League, it was an infinitely better film.
Yeah.
And I can understand why that was released. But Rebel Moon does not need a Zack Snyder cut. Army of the Dead doesn't need a Zack Snyder cut. 300 doesn't need a Zack Snyder cut. they're already long films. If anything needs a better cut, it would be the Dawn of the Dead remake. But yeah, that's my opinion on Zack Snyder. He's not made a decent film. He doesn't know how to tell a story. He's a creative person, but he was a music video director. And music video directors always have a different vision. So you look at the style of Zack Snyder's films, they look like music videos. The style of a Michael Bay movie looks like music videos. There was, who else was there? Russell Mulcahy, the guy who made Highlander. Highlander is a great movie, but it's a music video for a Queen song.
I suppose.
The Queen
so all
album
these
always.
filmmakers,
I see.
So all the filmmakers who are coming from making music videos, they're bringing that style with them, but they're not changing the style. So every film they release looks exactly the same as the previous one. So Rebel Moon looks exactly the same as Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead looked exactly the same as Sucker Punch.
I was about to say that. Sucker Punch, yes. Yeah.
It's just it's too much CGI, too much slow motion, not enough character development, not enough plot to have a movie that is 2.5 to 3 hours long. Which is why the slow motion pushes it on, which is why there's the scene where he tames the space griffin. It's a nonsense placeholder scene that they could have just taken out.
Do you know we've missed a character as well, like the gladiator character that literally comes from the Colosseum, who actually played a gladiator in the film Gladiator. Like that part I thought was funny as well. It's like, oh come on, man, could you be any more on the nose? You've literally stolen a guy that was in a gladiator film. Like,
and of course we've missed the best bit of the film, which is
it.
The best part of the film, which is Anthony Hopkins as the robot. That's about the.
I mean that I didn't get that.
That's the best bit about the movie, and it's in it twice or 3 times, whatever it is.
I mean, there was a lot of questionable bits when it comes to the robot as well. It's like, go and clean yourself off. It's like, okay, and then you see the robot like cleaning himself. And it's like, hang on, shouldn't water be bad for metal? Like, what? Why is he in the water? Why is he cleaning himself? I'm confused. You know. And then, like you say, you know, he literally just runs off, and it's like, oh, we're going to see him again. Well, guess not. And then,
I
at the end,
genuinely would like to see a spin-off movie. I'd like to see a spin-off movie of that robot. The fact that they were like these military powerhouses, and they all put down their weapons when the Emperor died, which is very 40k. Now they're going through this transition where it's being picked up, it's being used for just loading, and it's going through this kind of terrible life. Yet it's still got all the consciousness it has. It's made that decision, and now it's on the turn because it's seeing the injustices that are happening, and it's going to get back involved. And I guess that's what the meaning of the end. My assumption is the ending was
with the antlers?
Wild. It's now kind of like it's in control of its own destiny, sort of thing, and we're going to see it in the next movie.
That would have made a better
film. Interesting character. Yeah,
it would have made a better film.
Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Anthony Hopkins. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? The best actor in that, and he's playing a robot. You don't even see him, and he runs off.
He probably did it in an afternoon. He probably came in, did his lines, and went off. That was him done. He was like, "That's it."
Wouldn't it be funny, right, if Anthony Hopkins was actually there doing his bit, and he's like, "This film's going to be crap. Like, I'm done," and they just used what he was able to actually do because he didn't want to do it. It'd be funny, wouldn't it? They wrote him out because he actually walked out on it and thought this is rubbish. Anyway, right, we're getting bogged down in Rebel Moon, so let's move on. Right, so I suppose what we should get to now is like the middle road, or I suppose you could say the middle of the shit sandwich, as Martin put it earlier, and that would be like, you know, your mediocre films. So there's a few. I'm trying to think which one I would definitely put in there. Oh man, it's tough because there's a couple really. Oh man, which one do I put there? Right, I'm gonna say Napoleon, right? And I'll tell you why I'm gonna say Napoleon. I could have easily put Killers of the Flower Moon in there because that film is way too long. I'm sorry, it should have been cut down. It's way too long, and that's why that's middle of the road for me. Right, the story's all right, but it just took too long getting where it was going. But Napoleon, the reason I put Napoleon in there is because you're doing a film about a military tactical genius, right? Let's just say it. He was. He's known in history because it's not because he was bad at what he did, it's because he was great. So what are you going to concentrate on? Well, you're going to concentrate on his private life with his wife, who's a slut, right? That's pretty much what most of the film concentrates on. And for me, I was like, I don't want to see this. This is not what I want to watch. I want to actually watch Napoleon in battles, you know, and don't get me wrong, there is some of that in there, but not a lot. Not a lot. You know, over half of that film is his private life and his wife. You know, over half. And for me, that makes that middle of the road. And I'd say probably bottom of the middle of the road because it could have been so much better. But of course, Daisy Ridley, you know, I think he's overrated. Let's be honest. I mean, he's really only known for a couple of films. Alien, which he didn't write, someone else did. Blade Runner, well, let's be honest, good film, but it took several different cuts to actually get, you know, a version of it. So at that point, you've got to ask, well, could he do a good film in the first place? Is that why there's so many different cuts? You could maybe say Gladiator, but then, you know, Gladiator, there's a few mistakes in there, and he kind of took the mick a bit. You could kind of let that go. But I do think he is overrated. I mean, especially when you look at his recent films. Look what he did with Prometheus and Alien Covenant. You know, he got hold of the Alien franchise and he's wrecked it, you know?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, the best Alien film he didn't even do. So, yeah, for me, Napoleon, although I'd say it's better than the Alien films he's done of late, it's still not great. So, that's mine.
I haven't seen it, Lee. I'll definitely check it out. I don't really have a problem with him being creative within a historical license because, I mean, Gladiator, he was creative with 1917. He was creative with
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Kingdom of Heaven. Like if he did them as historical accurate, then they would probably make shit films. But I also agree that it's probably not the side of Napoleon we all wanted to know about. Like I don't know, you've got to. It doesn't sound like it focused on his battle sort of knowledge and the wars that he was in and fought and all of that. So yeah, am I interested in watching Napoleon the love story? Probably not. But I think he's got great movies under his belt, so he should, you know, I'm just looking now, like American Gangster he did, Black Hawk Down, you know, there's some amazing films in there that he's done. I'll admit it, yeah, the Alien series went a bit shit, let's be honest. But
the thing is, though, were them films, were they ones that he solely did, or was it because other people had wrote them?
Yeah,
because you notice that most of his good films other people have wrote. That's the thing. So,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I forgot to add as well. They completely make Napoleon look like cucked as well. They make him look totally pathetic as a person in that film as well. That's the other thing I should have pointed out. He looks a bitch to his wife. He really does. They bitched him out big time. But yeah, sorry, Pete, go on.
I think there's most directors don't write their own films.
Yeah,
they're hired to take a script and make the visual of it. So
I know.
Unless it's someone like Tarantino or Christopher Nolan or someone like that. I mean, Ridley Scott has never written one of his own films. So Dan O'Bannon wrote Alien.
Yeah.
What was the guy? Something Peoples wrote Blade Runner.
Yeah, because it was called The Androids.
Gladiator was written. Yeah, Gladiator was written by someone else. I wouldn't say Ridley Scott was overrated. I think now, in his 80s, he's just a grumpy old bastard.
Actually, that's probably a good way of describing him.
So Prometheus came out. He was like, it's not going to be a sequel to Alien. It's not going to be a prequel to Alien. It's going to be set in the same sort of universe, and it's going to look at where the xenomorphs originated from, which is why it starts on Earth. They find the cave paintings, and it's all the engineers and all that crap. That was a script that was rewritten by someone else. The original script was called Engineers, but it focused on the actual aliens, the xenomorphs. he didn't like that, so he got someone to rewrite the script and ballsed it up. But then the guy who made District 9 had an idea for an Alien 5, which was going to reunite Michael Biehn, Sigourney Weaver.
That's right, yeah.
In
Blomkamp.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the one. Neil Blomkamp. He had stunning artwork made as a pitch for it. And Ridley Scott basically went, fuck you. I'm making Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
And because of how, because of he couldn't follow the ending of Prometheus, he just went, you know what? Let's say Michael Fassbender created the Xenomorphs. Now it's an Alien movie. And it was shit. And it's the worst of the Alien films. So I look at it like this. I look at Alien Covenant was essentially made out of spite because he didn't want someone else to make a film that he essentially had control over the franchise. And because of that, he made a crap movie just to spite Neil Blomkamp, who wanted to make a proper Alien movie.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's a grumpy old bastard. I don't think he's an overrated filmmaker. I think visually he's a stunning filmmaker. Every film he makes looks incredible. But almost every film he makes is incredibly boring as well. So with the exception of maybe Alien, which is a shorter film, Blade Runner looks amazing, but it's so unbelievably tedious and boring and slow.
There's not much substance to it, admittedly. Yeah.
That hurts.
That the sequel that was made 30 years later is an easier watch, which is a longer film.
I don't know. I don't like the sequel.
Yeah.
I quite like the sequel. Gladiator, it's a good film, I guess. It's just again too long. Kingdom of Heaven is too long, and
it's too long.
Not much goes on. He made one recently which had Ben Affleck and Matt Damon in it, which was like a medieval romance film, which massively flopped.
What was that?
I can't even remember what it's called. It was The Something. And again, it flopped because it was boring. It was long and it was boring.
The Last Duel, it's called.
Yes. The Last Duel. That's
right. Yeah.
Not seen it.
Yeah.
So he's not an overrated director. He's just a boring director.
I don't know. I suppose the reason I said overrated is because it seems that a lot of the time the things he does get credit for are not things he's done in it. Do you know what I mean? That's why I said it like that, because you're
never going to have the look of Blade Runner with a different director. I mean, the Blade Runner sequel, it has that sort of aesthetic, but it doesn't look like the first Blade Runner. Like Aliens doesn't look like Alien.
Yeah.
No.
So I wouldn't say he's not taking credit for stuff that he didn't do. He's taking credit for taking someone else's idea.
I'm not saying he takes credit for it. I'm saying
visual.
People give him credit, I think, for things that aren't necessarily him. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay. When you look at his film history, though, I mean, he's got some clangers in there, but you can't deny he hasn't got some amazing movies under his belt. Like,
see, exactly. American Gangster is a film I like. I do like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But that's Denzel Washington. I like most Denzel Washington films, if I'm honest. He's good.
Martian was good. Morgan was good.
Yeah, Martian. Now that's one of the very few recent films I think that's been really good. I do like The Martian. I think that's a good film.
Body of Lies is good, you know.
Body of
Lies.
I mean, Black Hawk Down was an absolute stone cold brilliant. Well, it's just a stone cold killer of a film. He's got plenty.
But Body of Lies, that's the one that's got. Is it DiCaprio in it? It's that one, isn't it? Yeah. Boring. Yeah, you're right. That one was boring. Yeah. Anyway,
he even did Tom Cruise in Legend. I mean, Legend is awesome. It's got the best devil in any movie ever.
Did you really do that one?
Tim Curry.
Yeah. Tim Curry as the devil is amazing in that film.
Can't beat Tim Curry as Pennywise, though, can you?
Well, he's good at bad guys.
Yeah. Anyway, we ain't even got to Lee's choice for this one yet. Lee, what's your middle of the road, basically?
This is a bit of a tough one because there was loads of shit, like I think last year. But there is two films, but I'm not going to give two. I'm just saying there is two films that I'm tossing up between. And I'm going to say this one, but please bear with me. Please bear with me. If you haven't seen it, watch it because Jason Momoa.
I'm not falling for this again. You do this to me all the time. I watch it then, and I watch it. It's woke rubbish. Like
Jason Momoa, like in this film, shows a side of him I've never seen. Now I'm talking about Fast X.
What you mean? He actually acts?
Yeah. When I saw Fast, honestly, I'm like,
I'm gone, guys. See you later.
I love Fast and Furious. Yeah, I like the first 5 films are probably like the ones I really enjoy. After that, I guess it gets like Avengers. Yeah, but I watched this film and I just thought he was really good in it, and I thought he really brought it back in a real strange way because there's lots of scenes in it where he's very.
Did you watch the same film I watched? Because I'm starting to wonder.
Lee, listen. There's that scene where he's sitting with the 2 dead bodies.
Yeah, not good.
But I just really think it's so different. And from a Fast and Furious film, you're seeing that. And then the scene where he's in his purple, I think it's a Chevelle or whatever it is, and he's saying, and he's in a purple like jump. I don't know what he's wearing, like some purple jumpsuit or something. Like all
it is purple most of the time. So yeah.
And his fingernails and he goes, just to let you know, the drapes are the same as the And it's just so weird, but really, I really enjoyed it. And I know, like I say, Fast and Furious is crazy now. They went to fucking space, man.
Jeff,
it's just mad.
Jeff.
Yes.
You have terrible taste in movies. I'm sorry.
You said middle of the road.
I used to like the Fast and Furious films, and yes, when they went to space, it did. When they took out a submarine, it was ridiculous enough. But then they went to space, and then in the 10th one, mate, Jason Momoa running around like, mate. Honestly, I just think terrible taste in movies.
how bad the film is, I think he makes it watchable. I honestly do because his storyline is actually they've given him a real good story. Where he is the son of Hernan or whatever.
This sounds more like Lee's hall pass Jason Momoa fantasy than it is about the movie, I think. Have you got an agreement with the missus, have you? If you ever meet up? Yeah.
If you look at the problem with that film, everything that's wrong with that film is Jason Momoa, I think. But
really?
That might just be just me, but I don't know.
Oh, Jason Momoa made that movie actually watchable. It's like
exactly.
All the different Jokers throughout Batman, smashed them all together, and just went, you know what? I'm gonna have fun. It's Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna make over $1 billion. I'm gonna get paid, so I might as well just have a blast with it. He's done that. He's the best villain they've had. Since...
Admittedly, he does look like he had fun with it. He does look like he's having fun. Admittedly,
you actually, and like I said, it's
because he knows the film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly that.
Well, we all know the film. There've been enough of them.
His story, Cyberdyne, don't worry about it. His storyline is really good. The idea that he is the son, and then with Alan Richardson, who I think's awesome as Reacher anyway. But it's just really good. Normally, to get a rubbish villain, who's just like, Cypher was a good villain in terms of how she manipulated things and whatever. I just thought it was good for what it was.
Oh, can I just point out how many people are still alive as well that don't die? That's the other thing.
No, the people that... look, for all we know, Paul Walker's still alive, God rest him. He's going to come back. But, yeah, that is shit. That is shit. But I just thought he made it watchable. And, because I like him as an actor. I know I don't know why I think I like him because of Baywatch. But I just like him as an actor. Right? I just like him. I'm sorry.
Martin, what's your views? I'm itching to hear what you think of it.
I must admit, I stopped watching Fast and Furious movies after Tokyo Drift. I think is the second one. Is it?
No, that's the third one.
Third one. So that was when I stopped watching them, and it's because if I think back to who I was when the first one came out. playing Need for Speed games and thinking souped up cars were pretty awesome, alloy wheels and big stereo
Martin,
systems.
be careful, Martin.
I know, but as a 44-year-old man now, I'm not, and to be honest, the movies stopped being about that. They stopped being about the babes, the cars, the stereos, the racing, and all of this, and started becoming James Bond movies. I don't know what they were trying to be like.
It is strange. It is strange what they've done.
And I know. I think in this one, I think they tried to take it back a little bit because some of the clips I've seen, there is street racing and all that. And
there
is.
There
It should have stuck at. It should have stuck at the underground world of street racing and maybe the drug smuggling was. That's probably as much as you could push it. But when it started getting into saving the world, James Bond style, then I'm like, well, hang on a sec. You've lost what made you cool. You've other people are doing save the world movies. Go and do the thing you were really good at, which was the underground street racing across the world, and some of those things.
You say that, Martin. Like, you're saying you haven't seen Fast Five? That's what you're saying, aren't you?
That's a good film, Fast Five.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I'm pretty sure I haven't. I'm pretty sure the last one I saw was the Tokyo Drift one.
So the reason I'm asking that, right, is Fast and Furious 5. There is some street racing, but a good majority of that is obviously a heist movie, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is before they went on to secret agent shit, right? So, heist movie. Jason Momoa's character is actually the son of the character they stole the money from in the fifth one.
Yeah.
So, you might actually like 5. That's what I'm saying here. If there's elements you like a 10, you might like 5. For me, 5, I think, was the pinnacle. And then after that, it just fell off.
The other issue I've got with it is that there's too many damn characters at this point.
Yeah,
there is too many. There is Brie Larson. Why?
It's a cash cow for a bunch of actors. It feels like everyone gets a part.
Yeah,
because even the Rock was in these as well, wasn't he? I don't think he's in them anymore.
He's in it right at the end because obviously
he's coming back.
Him and Vin Diesel apparently had a falling out or whatever.
Yes.
And literally every Hollywood current superstar is in a Fast and the Furious movie, so it feels like it's just a massive cash cow to keep them in the money every few years. Make a Fast and the Furious. 20 of the top Hollywood actors get paid, and they do it. But
Fast and the Furious is basically the car version of the Expendables, really. At this point, it is. These are people who don't get work anywhere else, pretty much. For the most part. So.
But I hope they go back to their roots. I hope they give up the saving the world life and they go back to the underground street racing.
We've got 2 more films, and the way this one finished, I thought it goes up to 12.
I don't know. I thought it was just one more because I thought Fast X was part 1 and then the next one's part 2, wasn't it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Either way, the way this finished, it's a revenge movie. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't get any more time traveling or whatever they're gonna do. But
tell you what, mate, if the DeLorean showed up in the next Fast and movie, I'd be on board, mate.
Hang on, rewind. Rewind. In the beginning of this film, the lady sci-fi, one of the baddies, turns up in the new DeLorean. Just to let you know. just to let you know. Like I said, I just thought it kind of brought in a strange way, even though they're blowing up Rome, it brought it back a bit. And I know that's really hard to say. I just think they brought it back a little bit and they've made it a little bit more believable, kind of, very little, tiny bit, that it's a revenge movie rather than a espionage film. Because, like Jason Statham's going to go and save his mum and da-da-da. So, yeah.
So my question is, a film that's believable has Vin Diesel driving down a dam. That's believable, is it?
What I said a little. I went like this. That's like 2 millimeters. I said like that much. That bit stupid. Listen, don't get me wrong. There is some stupid bits. There is some, but
just a few. Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff in it that I thought was good.
I
think there was.
I'll be honest. I drew the line ages ago when they sent a Pontiac into space. I mean, not only a Fiera Pontiac is a lemon of a car, right? So it's not good in any way. It certainly wasn't made better by putting it in space.
Only because Elon Musk did it first, didn't he? With a Tesla.
No, well, they only did that scene because everyone was taking the piss because they were flying in the air in it. That's why they did that scene, didn't they? They put them in space because everyone was saying, they'll be in space in the next film. Hence why they did it.
In diver suits, no less.
Yeah, but listen, don't get like I said. There's some couple of good scenes. There's in Fast and Furious 7 or 8 when Tyrese is in the submarine and they have to find the countdown and he's saying, "Say it out, say the word out, black and black and black black." It's just hilarious when he's trying to read Russian. I mean, yeah, but Jason Momoa, I just thought was really good, and that's.
I'll give it a watch, mate. I'll give it a watch.
Okay, we get it. You're hot for Jason Momoa.
No,
you want to hump his leg.
It's just the way he is in this film. He's so camp.
Moving on. Martin, what's your shit sandwich?
So my sort of okay movie, and I'll pick one. I was going to pick because we shit on Marvel. I was going to pick Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because that is an okay movie, but I'm not going to pick that. I'm not going to pick that because it's quite a mainstream film. So one that I don't know if you guys have seen is called we lost Chef.
Oh, we've lost Chef again.
I'll wait for dramatic pause.
No, because then he'll start going on about Jason Momoa again. Don't give him any chance to talk.
I definitely feel like he's got a bit of a thing for him.
Yeah, so do I. He wants to hump his leg.
Yeah.
Go on, Mike. Go on, carry on.
So under the radar movie. It's called The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yes.
I don't know if people have seen this. So it's essentially a really small movie, and it takes place between. It's hard to talk about without giving spoilers away, but the ship is essentially carrying Dracula from Transylvania to London, and that's the voyage they go on. So and it all takes place on the ship. There's no bit before. It's all about their voyage and what happens throughout. I just think it's a really nice little contained movie. It's nicely shot. There's good sort of tension in it because it's not just an all-out battle with Dracula as you'd imagine. It's a very slow burn of him because he's got to try and survive this long voyage and get to London still with people to feed off and such like that. But then again, the ship starts to work out that something's wrong because people are getting ill and then people are starting to die and there's all that going on. And it's got no big named actors in it I can think of. But it's definitely worth checking out if you've not seen it. It's called The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I think it's called Demeter.
There was one part in that film that really shocked me, and that's the part where he kills the kid. I didn't think they were going to do that, and they did. I was really surprised at that. I was like, wow,
I think it is really good. Yeah, and it goes into all the vampire lore around. Obviously, he has to travel in his own earth and all this sort of stuff. So that plays a part of it. Eventually, he does walk the ship at points in his more human form and things like that. So there's all. It's just generally a good sort of vampire movie, but it's not just an all-out kill vampire film. It's quite a slow-paced one. But it wasn't great, but it was good. I just liked it. It was just a good movie to watch. I sat there and was engrossed in it. So. That's good.
I forgot I even watched that. It was only when you mentioned it then. Yeah, it wasn't a bad film. Like I say, the bit really surprised me with the kid. I was really surprised they did that. Because
spoilers, Lee. Give me terrible spoilers. Oh, I kept it high level, man.
It's a mild one. Come on, we've been spoiling films all the way through. What are you talking about?
I mean, I guess because Lee's not back, I will put Guardians of the Galaxy 3 back on the table just because of the terrible Marvel movie we've had. This was actually okay. It was all right. It did what Marvel movies would do. It's not Star-Lord's story. It's definitely Rocket Raccoon's story. And weirdly, you feel for him in the movie. You wouldn't think you'd feel for an animatronic or even CGI'd raccoon, but you definitely do. And the bad guy's better than Kang. Weirdly wears purple like all bad guys in Marvel movies.
I actually heard that he would be a better bad guy than Kang going forwards. They should do that.
Yeah, he plays a menacing, he's not super powered or anything. He's he would be a terrible bad guy for the superheroes to go up against because he wouldn't last 5 minutes, but as a menacing bad guy, he is that. He is ruthless in the film with the way he treats the animals and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's an okay one, right? In a world where we've had terrible Marvel movies, this one sneaks in as being a 5-6 out of 10. It's all right. It's all right.
I'm trying to think what his name is. Isn't he like something evolutionist or something?
The evolutionist or something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Someone I spoke to, because like I say, I haven't seen it yet, but somebody did say to me, they was like, they should have made him the main bad guy because he's actually threatening, whereas Kang isn't. That's what somebody
Yeah, and he's
said.
threatening because he's just got that coldness, that kind of ruthlessness. His whole thing, a bit like Thanos, where Thanos, if you thought about what Thanos was trying to achieve, you'd go, I can see where he might have got to that sense. Like, there's a finite amount of resources in the world. If I half the amount of demand, I've got double the amount of resource. That's kind of where he's. He went about it in a crazy way, and this the evolutionist is a very similar thing. He's like, I just want to create the perfect society, like the perfect being that lives in the perfect society. And if we all then become this, then we'll be a great place to be, right? A great place to live. And that's what he's trying to create, although he's doing it through massive, experimentation on people and animals and all this sort of stuff, modding them and sort of changing them. So his method is, the vision is, you can see it, but his approach to it is obviously pretty horrific. So that would be my, I guess I got 2 in because Chef's not here, but
right, I've just got to nip off. I'll be honest, I'm busting for Elite, guys. I'll be back in a sec. Pete, your middle of the road film.
Oh God, middle of the road film. Probably Barbie or Oppenheimer. It was okay. It was a bit long, but I'd probably say Barbie. Everyone made such a massive deal out of it, and it was just an all right comedy, I guess.
Yeah,
there was funny moments in it. There was moments that weren't funny. There were moments that were, I didn't see the hype. I watched it. I didn't get the hype. It was okay. It's in the middle.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. My rest of my family has seen it. I haven't seen it because I've an issue with it. I just haven't got around to see it.
Yeah.
But my kids and my wife saw it, and they said again, it was just okay. It was just it was funny. It was a bit of a turn your brain off, watch the film. I loved the fact that my boys came out talking about being Knuff. That was great. They sort of, Dad, we're Knuff. And I was like, okay, great. My son's even got like a hoodie which says I'm Ken enough or something like Knuff on it. I was like, which I think's fantastic, because I think a lot of people thought that movie was just about man bashing, and the fact that lots of people came out of it and went, actually, it's not so much that, it's trying to.
It's. There was a sort of feminist message in there, but it wasn't in a way. It wasn't anti-men, but it was pro-female, but also pro-men. So it kind of worked. Yeah. As like a. I don't know. I don't even want to say it was woke, because it wasn't woke. It was just all right. That's the thing. It made this huge big deal of this film was coming out. That was this massive comedy this year. It was supposed to be hilarious. Again, it was funny, but it was just another comedy. There was nothing stand out about it. Visually, it looked quite good, but other than that, it was just a 2-hour movie about a doll.
Yeah,
which I'd already seen at the start of the year with Megan.
Yeah, and I think also it's a classic sort of fish out of water type story, isn't it? Which we've seen a million of, where real life doesn't reflect the fantasy world the person's come from or whatever it is. Now, there's been 100 of those types of movies, right? Where we go, oh, isn't that crazy how that works? Like, well, yeah, real life doesn't reflect the movie world or the fantasy world or whatever. Look at Last Action Hero. That's got very similar things where he gets stripped out of the movie world or the Barbie world, and now he's in the real world and discovers that when you shoot the back of a car, it doesn't explode and things like that. Like it's been done, but it's just a different character. Instead of the Last Action Hero guy, it's Barbie that's now doing it, and therefore, they're funny, but it's nothing I haven't seen before. I
mean, the film itself, it was clever. I mean, there was a lot of meta sort of themes in it. Obviously, she's Barbie. She's a doll who thinks she's real in Barbie Land, and then goes to the real world and finds out that she is just a doll. There's nothing massively different between her as Barbie in Barbie Land to her as Barbie in the real world. I mean, like I said, it was a clever movie. It was just all right. It wasn't the kind of film. I know I'm not the core demographic for a Barbie movie, but I'm also not the core demographic for something like Oppenheimer, which came out at the same time.
Oh, see, I liked Oppenheimer.
I found Oppenheimer it was okay. Again, it was like Barbie. I think the editing in Oppenheimer at the first hour just zips so fast and too much happens, and you're not really given enough time to gel with the characters that are in it. Like Robert Downey Jr.'s character only pops up every now and then. Oppenheimer himself is like he starts off in college, then something else happens, then it's World War II, then something else happens, and now he's making a bomb.
Well, it zips backwards and forwards, I think, as well, if I remember right, don't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but then we're meant to expect that with Christopher Nolan. Nothing is ever going to be
straightforward.
A to Z. It's always going to be a spaghetti junction of a plot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Barbie more than I enjoyed Oppenheimer, mainly because of the fact that it was an easier watch. Barbie's not about creating the world's most deadly weapon.
No.
Depending on how you look at it. And yeah, I think that's why I enjoyed it. Something like Oppenheimer, you've got to be in the mood for. It's like going to see Killers of the Flower Moon, or what else was the other really long one that came out this year apart from Oppenheimer? There was like 3 long ass movies. And I've not got a problem with long movies. I'll happily sit down and watch a 3-hour Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or Once Upon a Time in America, which is about 4.5 hours long. I've got no problem watching that, but it's got to engage me. Yeah. And if I'm not engaged in a long film, I'm going to tune out. But something like Barbie, it held my attention for its runtime, but it wasn't the huge change in cinema that it was said to be. It was just another comedy that had Will Ferrell in it at some point. That's why I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah,
I haven't watched Barbie, but I mean, one of the things that I thought was good about that film was that for once they did a film for women, young girls, whatever, which was actually a franchise that is made for women, young girls, rather than take something that's known for a male audience or boys and then turning it into female. For once, they actually got a franchise that's actually a female franchise and actually kept it that was what I appreciated about it. Like I say, I haven't seen it, but what I'm basically saying is they haven't got a franchise that was for boys and ruined it. They actually did something that was made for females in the first place. So, yeah. And I suppose that's why it did so well. I mean, I guess probably when you look at it, they were the 2 biggest films at the time. I suppose all the blokes were like, well, I'm going to watch a film about the atomic bomb. And all the others were like, well, I'm going to go and watch a film that's got loads of pink and it's about a doll. So I suppose that's how it works.
That was the good thing, though. That was the good thing with them both being released at the same time.
Yes.
People were going to see Oppenheimer and then going in to see Barbie afterwards because of how depressing, obviously, Oppenheimer is going to be.
They actually called the event Barbenheimer on the internet.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype into it, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I think the biggest hype was Margot Robbie's feet, wasn't it, in Barbie? That's what everyone obsessed about.
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I can't say. But
well, literally every time I saw it being advertised online, it was talking about her feet. So I guess they were good. I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing they were. I was
going to say that could have gone either way because they go on about Brie Larson's feet, but not in a good way.
Okay.
Like she's got creepy ass toes. If you ever get a chance, right? Because I believe a photo was taken of her on the red carpet event at some point. It might have been for Captain Marvel, the first one. they took a photo and she had like obviously open-toed shoes, and it ended up on the internet. And of course, then people started pointing out that she had skanky toes. So, yeah.
Well, I
Like
can't say
hobbit
I've got
feet.
beautiful toes, so you know we've all got issues, mate. So
I get that, but I suppose like women are less known for that. I suppose yeah, but yeah.
Have you seen the message? I don't think Chef is returning, by the sounds of it.
He did message me saying he was resetting. Has he messaged again since then? Has he?
Not coming back. He's put.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that one.
But, I mean, he only would have brought up terrible movies anyway. I mean, I'm glad he's not here, to be honest. I mean,
your reply, you suck. Yeah, look, there you go. Look at her toes. That's mutant feet, isn't it? That's mutant feet. How's her second to last toe bigger than nearly all her other toes? That's weird. That's weird, right?
That was bizarre. I was like, what?
Yeah. So before we get into TV, because obviously a good majority of what we've done so far has been films, but before we move into a bit of TV, because we've got to try and fit that in, obviously we was going to talk about Sound of Freedom. Now, one thing I am going to point out before I get into this, there's been a lot of controversy over this film because obviously promises were made about money going towards some sort of charity, and it sounds like that's all gone a little bit sort of pear-shaped. Things haven't been done the way they should have been. Promises weren't kept. I'm not getting into any of that. I'm just getting into the pure fact of what the film was like, and also some of the history behind it to start with, because I don't know if you're aware, but this film was originally done by Fox and then got shelved. And Disney acquired it when they bought Fox. And then again, it sat on a shelf. And this company, Angel Studios, come along and they bought it for, I believe it was 5 million. I'm sure it was, 5 million. They bought it from Disney. Disney obviously didn't think it would do anything. So they bought it for 5 million. Apparently the budget for this film was originally 14.5 million. I'm guessing that's after they bought it off Disney and then the marketing maybe. Don't know. But it made 250 million at the box office. And obviously it's starring Jim Caviezel. Is it Caviezel? Which he's not really been seen in much since Person of Interest, but I did like him in that. I thought he was pretty good in that. This film is a good film, but it's a hard watch. And if you're a parent, I think it makes it even harder to watch because you can kind of see these parents, what they're going through. The first 15 minutes are they're the worst. Like in the credits, they actually use what looks like footage from real kidnappings, where people jump off scooters, snatch someone's kid, jump on a scooter and ride off, and the parents frantically running after them. Actually made me feel sick, like watching it, But there's this one part where you're introduced to your two main kids, right? I'm not going to give too much away, but the dad drops them off to what he thinks is going to be like some sort of audition for them. He's told to come back at 7, right? And you can already work out what's going on with this, right? And they're taking photos of them. And this little boy, I mean, they purposely obviously picked the sweetest looking little boy you could ever see, which only makes this harder when you're watching it, right? Because you know what's coming, right? And then it skips to later on where the dad comes back for him because they told him to come back at 7. He comes back, knocks on the door, and they're gone. And so that mixed with, like I say, raw footage of kids being kidnapped and all this stuff, it really does make you feel quite sick. But then as the story goes on, because of course it's based on a true story, you then see, what it's all about. And spoilers, guys, I'm going to give you a little warning now. If you haven't seen it, I am going to spoil it a little bit. But it's all about a guy that's an agent who has been trying to fight this for 12 years. And he suddenly sees that now he can actually do something about this. And so he quits his job and he puts this mission together because he's managed to get the boy back. He now wants to get his sister back. And that's what the film's about. And it's all based on a true story. But honestly, it's a hard watch. It really is. Yeah. Have you seen it, Pete?
I haven't. It's one of the films that came out last year. that I just never got around to watch it. There was one thing that put me off is the name of the studio that released it. Angel Studios is a predominantly Christian themed
That's right.
film studio.
Yeah.
I am a very non-religious person, so I don't like to watch films where religion is shoved down my throat. So
Same.
my perception of that film was that it was a Christian movie. It was made by a Christian film studio. But now that you've just pointed out, it was made by Fox and shelved, which doesn't surprise me with Fox. I'm more inclined to now actually seek it out and watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm same as you. I don't like anything religious. I mean, I had it rammed down my throat as a kid, so I stay away from it. But because obviously I knew that this wasn't them who did it, you know, I didn't really pay any mind to that. But yeah, it's worth watching. You know, like I say, it's tough, but it's also good. You know, because it's a story. And I suppose the importance of it also, this film, is to put it out there. You know that this is happening a lot, and there's a little bit in the credits where the main star talks, and he actually gives you the figures of like how widespread this is. Like, and it's a scary thought, you know. Do you know slavery now is more than it was back when slavery was legal? That's mad, right? And most of it is kids. That's real bad, you know. But anyway, Martin.
Well, maybe they should make more. They should probably make more films that highlight these things that go on in the world now, instead of just making mediocre Marvel movies every 6 months. I think the more important stories that you see, the more people will be inclined to actually try and find a way to prevent things like that happening.
Yeah.
And there's it's serious issues that we all go to the movies to forget about what's going on in the world, to switch off and enjoy. But sometimes you do need a film that will tell of a real story that is happening. That is, what's the word? I can't even think of the word now. You know, we all watch the news. The news tells you terrible shit every single day. This is going on. This is going on. This is going on. But you only get that in maybe like 2 to 3 minute snippets every day when it's just a headline and stuff like that. So you never really get a sense of how large and how bad these situations are in the world. So something like The Sound of Freedom, which does shine a light on how bad kidnapping and child slavery is. And I'm not talking like take something like Taken. That's like fantasy kidnapping. Man on Fire is fantasy kidnapping.
Yeah.
When you've got something like Sound of Freedom, that because it's based on a true story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
When you find something like that actually does give you the figures, does give you a narrative that is real, it makes you more inclined to do something about it. Yeah, instead of just watching BBC News for 2 minutes a day where it's a headline that Russia's invaded another country or something.
Well, the thing is that I know part of the original thing with this film was that the money that was the profit that was made from it was meant to go to a charity to help tackle, you know, this trafficking and that. I'm not sure. From what I could tell, it was very hard to actually get a straight answer on the internet through looking for it. But I'm not sure that was actually kept to in the end. I can't really say either way. It doesn't say it definitely was, doesn't say it definitely wasn't. So
that's the thing with charities, though. It's like you can go to a charity shop and buy a load of DVDs or clothes or something like that, thinking your money's going towards that charity, but there's only a very, very small percentage of that money that you pay is going towards the charity. The rest of it is being put back into the business or going into the shareholders, or it's the same with every single business, but specifically when it comes to charities, the amount of money that actually goes to the charities compared to the amount of money that goes back into the business or to the CEO or the higher ups, the corporate side of it, is like very, very small, so the money doesn't get to where it needs to go, which is why you see on TV these only £2 a month will help save someone's life or something like that for a life-saving operation. But how much of that £2 is going towards that, and how much is going back into the charity?
Yeah.
We just don't know these things. That's the thing. So yeah, more films that highlight issues that are not being tackled in the world would be better. I mean, you said it was 14 million budget, or it was shot for 5 million.
They purchased
and it made
it
200.
They purchased it from
so
Disney.
they purchased it.
So they bought it from Disney for 5 million. The budget ended up being 14.5, so another 9.5 on, I don't know, advertising maybe. And it made
that is a lot of money
250.
for advertising. That is a lot of money for advertising. So it makes me think that the film was probably shot for about 12 million, shelved by Fox, and then they wanted to get rid of it, so sold it at a loss, which means Angel Studios would have then added an extra 2 million on for advertising, because if a studio like Angel Studios, which is not a known studio compared to like Warner Brothers, Universal and stuff like that, it's a very, very small minor studio. They're not going to have 9.5 million to promote a film. 2 million will promote it. That's more than enough to get that film promoted.
Normally, a rule of thumb is the advertising is normally about the same price of what they've actually paid for it. Normally, so like in most cases, especially with modern films with budgets, you normally find if say a film costs 15, they normally say it has to make 2.5 to 3 times the amount in order to cover the marketing and the theatres and all that, because they all take their cut. I mean, some theatres take 50%, others are like 40 or 25, but a good majority, I think in US, I think they take like 50% of the cut in the theatres. So you have to make like 2.5 to 3 times the amount really to see a profit. So yeah, I mean, they've easily done that. So
they've done that. They can do that in the future now.
Yeah. But Martin,
no, it's on my list.
Yeah. I'll definitely check it out. I 100%, as a dad of 4 kids, my view on those types of movies have changed. But as Peter said, it's important that we watch these. I mean, case in point, the Post Office series has come out, and look at the news now. The news is all about getting all of that sorted, right? So I'm not saying the same is going to happen here, but but it is important that these things happen, because they do sometimes actually have a change. All of a sudden, lots of eyes on things, get things done. So I will watch it, but I genuinely do struggle. Even stupid ones, like I look at the way, the Mel Gibson film Ransom. Like when I watch that now as a dad, I'm like, fuck those guys. I want to also go. I'd also tell them the same and shove it and like want to kill them and all this. Like you do look at it in a completely different way compared to how you watched it when you were young. So I will give it a go, but whether I make it through or not, it depends on how much they actually show. If they are genuine. I know it's acting and they're actors and all of that. But it hits home. It hits hard, right? So
you don't see anything that everything's implied in terms of the horrible things that will happen. All of that's implied. It's not that makes it hard. What makes it hard is when you see the kids. Like at the beginning, you see these like innocent kids thinking they're going to an audition. And as the person watching, that that's not what's going to happen. So I guess it's you that actually is your worst enemy watching that film, because what's going to happen, even though it's not going to be shown. You see?
Yeah. And that's the problem with it. It's so easy. Like I know we teach our kids to not talk to strangers and not take sweets from strangers and all this, but kids are stupid, man. Kids will do stupid things, and that's why it's so believable, because they will do that. You know, someone will
Well,
say, "Oh, your mum's across the road. She told me to come and get you and bring you over. She's got this, that." And kids will go, "Oh, okay, yeah, off I go." Even though literally 10 minutes ago, someone said, "Don't talk to strangers and don't take sweets from them." They are dumb, stupid, and innocent, and they will do silly things. And that's why, as a parent, when you watch these things, you're just like, "Oh God, please, no one ever approach my kids." You know, it's horrendous. So, and if it's showing footage of literally people rocking up on a moped, snatching a kid and driving off, that's just the worst moment in your life, right? It really is. So,
well, what makes it worse is that it's so well engineered that they actually completely fooled the two main kids that it basically goes around. It fools their dad because they make out they're a talent agency.
yeah.
So he actually thinks that he's taking his kids to something that actually is real. And that's what makes it worse. It's not kids making a stupid decision. It's actually an adult, you know, and then he's got to live with his decision afterwards. Like, you know, it's terrible. But I mean, like what Cyberdyne Systems says, the guy was amazing. He gave up his job to stay out there. Yeah, he did. 12 years, I think it was in the end, he spent trying to get kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you find out these things are based on true stories, and often the truth is better than the fictional movie, right? The things that you go through, and actually you don't need to add any fluff to it. You don't need to add any storytelling to it. The reality of what the person went through is interesting enough, right? You know.
Well, there's a part in the film where the dad, when he gets his son back, he says to him, like, "Did you find his sister?" And he's like, "No." And he said, "Well, you put yourself in my shoes. Imagine going back home, knowing full well that one of your kids' beds is empty tonight, right?"
Yeah.
And then he goes home and he says to his wife, this is when he says, "I've got to do something about this." And his sister, he says, "Look," because he's got 6 kids, I think he is. He says, "I've got to do something about this." He said, "Imagine if our daughter, who's the same age, if her bed was empty tonight, imagine how you'd feel." And that's what he says to her. So he basically parrots almost the same line that the guy said to him, but he puts his own kids in that situation to his wife. And she just goes, "Do what you got to do. Get that kid back." You know, and then he actually says at one point, "I feel like at this point, this kid is my kid." He actually does say that at one point. So
yeah, I think you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone went.
Oh, okay. What's this? Millennials are nearly as bad. Gen Alpha, I have hope for. How you doing, mate? How you doing? His name's Pedro as well, funny enough.
Yeah, I must admit, when I saw the channel name pop up, I wasn't sure if it was that Pedro or because I was like, "Oh, so can we know Pedro?" But he must have changed his channel name or something.
Right, okay. Well, it definitely doesn't look like Chef's coming back because he's clearly having internet issues.
He's got terrible taste, mate. You don't want to hear his movies.
Yeah. But one of the things that I was going to mention in the TV part, like you just briefly touched on, I did watch that Mr. What's his last name? Mr.
Bates, is it? No,
Bates.
Not, is
Mr.
it
Bates,
Bates?
yeah. Mr. Bates versus a post office. And I've got to be honest, like, I mean, obviously back in the day we knew some of what was going on, but I can't help but think that the media tried to hide a lot of what actually happened. Because when you watch that and you realise the scale of it, it's like, my God, I only thought a few people went to prison. I didn't realise it was 2,500 people went to prison that were innocent.
Yeah.
You know, and then you see what goes on and how they're treated and that. And by the end of it, I said to the missus, I was like, they'll be lucky if I ever set foot in a post office ever again.
It's like, now over 600 people, Lee. Like another 50 have come forward since the TV show came out.
Yeah.
Like the number just keeps going up. The people that have just not said anything through fear or through just thinking it was their fault and have put their hands up and just accepted that it went wrong. Like it looks insane. I had no idea this was as big as it was. Like I don't even really remember it when it happened back in, back in the dates that it took place. So for me, this was a real but I can't understand how it happens. You know, you see the system failures and people just assume it's a bug, and then the help desk has really got their script to tell you what's going on. And by the time, because yes, you can definitely say that the people behind the scenes know there's a problem, and definitely Fujitsu and the Horizon system and all that sort of stuff. But the people at the shop floor in the post office and the people on the shop floor of the help desk, they just follow the scripts, right? They just, oh yeah, no, you've got to do this, press this, pay the fee, and then off you go. And I can see how it can all spiral out of control. And obviously the people at the top, no one wanted to put their hands up, and it just got worse and worse and worse.
Have you actually watched it, Martin? Have you actually watched it? The only reason I say that is because it weren't an accident. They knew what they were doing.
Oh no, that's what I mean. But I'm trying to talk about the people at the problem is you've got those sort of the people in the back of everything. Yeah, they absolutely knew what was going on, and they
were actively changing things.
I'm talking about when they'd call up and they'd talk to the help desk, and the help desk would literally say to them, "Oh no, all you've got to do is press this, press that, and then okay, that's your outstanding balance. Pay your balance." Well, and they're going, "Well, I don't owe that money, and well, if you don't pay it, you can't open tomorrow." They have no idea. They're just following a script that's in front of them. And the post office people are just accepting it because they think, how could the post office be wrong? I must be wrong, even though it's massively upsetting. And then it just spirals and spirals and spirals. And all the people that actually have all the information in the background are just sitting on their hands and going, yeah, we're just not going to stick our hands up to this at all. And it just gets out of control. It's an horrendous story. It really is.
Well, what made me laugh, I mean, I was watching the news only tonight, and them talking about what's come out today, that they're going to compensate them. And I couldn't believe, right, as you watch it, it's like, oh, the government have stepped in. It's like, yeah, but they've only done that because it's been on the TV. And because people are outraged and they know this now. They know that people want to literally kick down the doors of Parliament, But this is the only reason they're doing it. They could have done this years ago,
Yeah. You can imagine the PM sat there at number 10 going, this series is really good. This shit actually happened.
I just thought it's funny, like, I was watching it earlier where Keir Starmer was like, oh, this serious injustice. It's like, mate, you knew about this years ago. Don't try and make out like this is new to you. Like, you bloody knew. The only reason you're doing it now is because ITV splashed it all over the TV and everybody knows exactly everything you did or didn't do. Yeah. But, I mean, they have said they are actually going after Fujitsu now, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. And who knows where this will go,
Yeah. I mean, they offered that Mr. Bates, was it a CBE? But he then found out that the main culprit for the post office, she's got one. And he went, well, then I don't want it because it'd be meaningless at this point.
Well, she's now giving it back, isn't she? She's going to be giving it back.
Too bloody right.
And rightly so, rightly so.
Too bloody right. And the joke of it is, when you watch that series, she's a minister. How the bloody hell can you sit there with a congregation when you screwed these people?
But if you notice, you probably, whether this is true or not, but you'll notice she always dodges court. She never actually appears in court because she would have to swear on the Bible. That's why she gets the other person to go in, because if she swore on the Bible, being a minister, she would have had to spoil the truth. So she always sends in that lackey, the person just beneath her, and she's the one that crumbles in court at some point. Now I don't know how true that is, but for the storytelling of the TV show, that's why they do it, because she couldn't have sworn on the Bible and then stood in a witness box and actually given a statement that was false. So that's.
Sama is as bad as Sue Twat. I mean, this part here, where is it? Control grid. Yeah, what he's saying here, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I say this all the time. Systems rigged to screw you over every way it can. And that system definitely was.
But as a TV show, I thought it was compelling watching. It was done brilliantly. It was, acting was fantastic. The characters are all believable. And the fact it's based on a true story, but I think they've done a really great job of making a horrendous story that needed highlighting also great entertainment for TV. If I look at it as just a piece of TV, it was very well done.
Well, we couldn't wait for each episode to be released. We had to watch it all on ITVX.
We binged the whole thing in one night.
Yeah, well, I think we did it over two, but I mean, once I watched the first couple, it was like, we got to finish this. This is good. So. Yeah, but we, me and the missus, we were both sitting there absolutely gobsmacked. Wow, this was a lot bigger than they led you to believe.
Have you seen it, Pete?
I was just about to ask that.
This is where I'm massively sheltered. No, I didn't. I literally. That's what I was looking down. I was reading about it on my phone because that's the first I've.
It's got some good actors in it. I mean, the main star that plays Mr. Bates, he played the mad scientist, if you like, in Captain America.
Yeah,
he plays the main star, and he's very good.
Yeah, he's a classic sort of British actor. He's done
name.
Shakespeare and all sorts,
Toby
isn't he?
Jones.
He's one of the sort of like classic British actors.
Yeah.
All of the casts in it do a cracking job.
Yes, Toby Jones. You are right. It is Toby Jones. Yeah,
it's definitely worth.
Yeah, no, I don't tend to watch a lot of TV shows. When I wrote down, I've only got 5 that I've even glanced at this year. I work a lot of nights, so I don't really have time to sit down and watch TV shows. Mainly the ones that I've seen this year are the big 2 and some other smaller ones. But TV. I'm more of a. I love watching. I can binge watch a show, no problem. I binge watched the Battlestar Galactica TV show in 4.5 days, so I can binge watch. But there's just nothing really TV wise that has ever that this year or last year that grabbed me and went, you know what, you got to watch this. And I don't tend to watch like ITV or BBC anymore either, because I just find that the programming on there is not really aimed at me. It's aimed at, well, my sort of interests. But obviously, people love watching true life stuff. Then that's absolutely fine. It's not really my cup of tea. I'm more of a Star Wars TV show and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. There is rarely
that's going to come up as well, like in a minute. But yeah,
it is rare. It is rare, but occasionally the old channels do have a couple of gems, you know. And this is definitely one I would say is worth watching, even if you didn't know or care about the actual story. It's actually just really good. It's just a really good sort of like I can't believe this happened, you know.
The last BBC TV show I watched was Rogue Heroes, which was about the formation of the SAS. That was the last one I watched, and that was fantastic. I was waiting for the second season of that now.
Yeah,
but I think I watched that in an afternoon because I would use the iPlayer. But I don't really watch a lot of TV channels anymore like I used to, because I don't really like Doctor Who. I'm not really interested in reality TV. So
don't even get.
I mainly stick to movies.
Yeah, Doctor Who. That's don't get me wrong. I'm not a massive
it's not for me
fan, but even if I was, I'd be pissed. Like, I mean, one for me that I wanted to mention was Picard season 3, because I really enjoyed that. I don't know if any of you guys watched it, but after a couple
of season of Star Trek: The Next Generation,
basically,
100%, 100% that. Yeah.
What I liked with that was Terry Matalis, who obviously worked on older Trek like Deep Space Nine and that. He knew the franchise, he knew what made it great, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to ignore the first 2 that are terrible, first 2 series, they're gone, and I'm going to do something that literally continues on where Nemesis left off. And that's what he did. And it was great. I mean, I'll be honest, I remember there was stages watching that, especially when you see them all come together. Spoilers, guys. You should have watched it by now, to be honest. When they all come together on the bridge of the Enterprise D, and I got goosebumps. I was like, wow, like they're actually doing this. Like, you know, I mean, how good was that? I mean, that's what we should have got, you know, with Picard season 1 and 2. You know,
I suppose they wanted to see how a Picard show would take off without the original crew. Well, I say the original crew, but the next gen crew at the start. Obviously, it was quite popular, and that's when they were able to start feeding. Obviously, we had Data in the first series and stuff like that, but they integrate the original crew into the as the seasons went on, and then by the 3rd season they're just like, screw it, let's just get everybody back and make it.
The first 2 series were Alex Kurtzman, weren't they? And the problem was, I mean, the first series in particular, it was I mean, the story behind that, did you know that's basically meant to be based around Donald Trump? Did you know that? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can now see why it's so bad, right?
I think
You know?
Pete hit the nail on the head with it. It should be renamed. It should be called Picard Season 3. It should be the Next Generation season, whatever the last one would be called, because you're 100%
I'll be honest,
right
I
in
will
saying
buy
that.
that
That's what it
season.
felt like. Yeah.
I will buy that season on disc, but I won't buy the ones before it.
As a standalone thing, I thought it was brilliant. I absolutely genuinely loved it. Like it's been a long time since I've had like a series where I've wanted to, I'm like, actually, oh man, I need to watch the next episode now. There's very few of those I can think of. And that was one of them. I didn't see any of season 2, so I don't know anything about it. Apart from most people told me it's rubbish. I think I saw one or two
one
episodes.
was so bad I didn't even watch the
Yeah, I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes of season 1. There was a scene where I think Picard gets told to fuck off or something. Like there's someone like he literally gets told.
That was the first season.
Yeah, and I lost it. I was like, that's me done. Like you just don't. That's not going to happen. And then season 3 was just excellence throughout. It was great.
What about the bit where the space flowers took out a bald cube in the first season? I mean, that was great. That was. And yes, I am being sarcastic. You know, like you've got space orchids coming up off the planet, taking out a bald cube. I mean, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
I remember watching that, and I was like, "Are you serious? Like, this is what you come up with?" Like, you know. Oh, it's garbage.
I think it proves that even though people love Picard, he needs the same crew to actually make it. I mean, he doesn't work as a single character on his own. Someone like Kirk probably could, but as Picard's so much better when he's got Riker and Troy and Crusher, Worf, Geordi around him. That he needs those characters.
Yeah.
He needs those characters. Whereas Kirk is a different type of character. You could probably make, well, in the 70s, 60s or 70s, you probably could have made a Kirk show and it would have worked without Spock and McCoy and people like that. But I think Picard needs the crew of the Enterprise behind him.
The thing is,
that show to work.
There's a behind the scenes reason for that, because the problem is with Shatner was during the original Star Trek, he wanted the camera and everything to be about him, which is why most of his cast that are around him hate him, right? So that's probably the reason why Kirk would have worked better on his own, was because Shatner works better on his own, if you get what I mean. Whereas obviously with Picard, the whole point of the Next Generation was to encourage people to be involved in the series other than just Picard, wasn't it, I suppose? So that's why, it's just that behind the scenes thing, really.
And each of the characters brings something. So you've got obviously Picard as the strategist. You've got the sort of Riker as that kind of aggressor, and obviously even more so in Worf. And you've got the engineer. They all bring either compassion or aggression or the strategy or the comedy. They all bring something so that they make a crew. They make a really interesting set of people that have a different element to them you're going to enjoy watching. When you just take one out and just focusing on like one person, it doesn't work. I don't think a standalone season on Wolf or a standalone season on Riker would just work. They don't do enough in their own to make them, but when you bring them together, you get this kind of really interesting dynamic of people that can do really cool things as they do in the show. So
I know it's a really weird thing to call back to, but it's the same when we were talking about the Expendables. Like, it works with all the older people, but it doesn't seem to work with the newer people. So Star Trek Picard worked better with the older crew than it did with just him on his own. It's the same dynamic. You rely on the people you can use.
What made it also good was because it was, again, like going back to Terry Matalis, because he worked on Deep Space Nine. He incorporated some of the DS9 storyline into it as well, which for someone who loves DS9 as well, that was really good for me, because I'm watching that and I'm like, wow, they actually have even managed to carry on from Deep Space Nine to a certain degree with what's going on here. And also, like, what was going on actually made perfect sense, whereas previous Picard seasons hadn't. But one of the things that bugged me the most, right, and this was a complaint I kept seeing people make, oh, it's fan service, it's fan service. And I'm sitting there thinking, since when is fan service a bad thing? What the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, it's bad that they're giving people what they want. What? Since when has that been a criticism or something? Like, I'm not being funny. If I'm paying for this, I want what I want.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want anything other than that?
Difference in fan service. There's a difference in fan service where they're giving you what you want. They're putting little nods and winks in as well, but it's just like, oh yeah, this is a character from this episode. This is a character from this episode. You remember him. You remember him. But you want that. You want like
it's like. I would say it's the difference between Picard season 3 and the Flash movie. So they stuck Michael Keaton in as Batman to get us all to go and see the Flash movie, because I don't think the Flash movie would have been seen by many people if Michael Keaton wasn't in it. So that is fan service. That is saying, hey, here's this thing you love. We've stuck it in something we don't think you're going to like, but you're probably going to come and see it for that bit. Where Picard was just a celebration. Season 3 is just a celebration of all things Next Generation, and we got to see it all. You know, yeah, it was just, I think that's the difference. Like, I feel cheated a bit by the Flash, because you gave me Michael Keaton, but you put him in a terrible movie. But I'm going to like it a bit because I loved seeing Michael Keaton as Batman, and that's the only reason I give it a couple of points. But season 3 of Picard was everything I wanted from a new Star Trek. You know, it was, and it had all the things I wanted in it, and therefore, for me, it's totally different.
So one last thing I just want to say on Picard because I want to try and fit one more thing in after this. But if you haven't watched Deep Space Nine, watch Deep Space Nine and then watch Picard season 3 again, because it adds a whole new meaning to what's going on in that. Like, there are bits in there that relate to it. So if you haven't watched Deep Space Nine, just give it a watch, because what's going on with the bad guys relates as much to the Borg, which are primarily the Next Generation bad guys, and the other bad guys that are involved are primarily linked to the bad guys from Deep Space Nine. So, you know, you got both there. But obviously time's slipping away. So I wanted to try and get to, we'll lump these two series in together because they're both Star Wars.
Oh man, can we not rattle off a couple of TV shows? Can I not rattle off a couple, Lee?
It depends how long you want to stay on here for, mate. I mean, it's 10:10.
So it's so painful not being able to say your shows. Go on. Anyway. It's your show, Lee. It's your show. You run the show.
So, going from one show that obviously was appreciated by most fans, right, and done well, to a show or two shows that were done really badly and did completely the opposite. Mandalorian season 3 and Arse Hoka, or so shall I say Ahsoka, which were both fucking awful, for want of a better way of putting it. I mean, we could get some more in afterwards, Martin, like brief touching on it, but, you know, these were the ones I wanted to concentrate on, because let's be honest, these two shows were the worst, I think, of what we got last year, if I'm honest. Pete,
I didn't think Ahsoka was that bad. I didn't think Ahsoka was that bad. I thought it was telling a story outside of what we've seen in the Star Wars TV shows. But obviously you need to have seen Rebels, I guess, to really appreciate the characters in that. But when the show ended, it just ended to nothing, and you just know that the next series is just going to be a nothing again. There was no resolution. They went from one galaxy to another galaxy to start again, and something that it was just pointless. It was a pointless series because it didn't bring anything apart from Thrawn. That was it.
Is he Thrawn now? I mean, that's not Thrawn.
Well,
if he's a tactical genius, then I'm a tactical genius.
Yeah, I'm Fred Bertie Bassett. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and not only that, like, he's meant to be pinnacle of what, like, when you see him, or, you know, you have him described in the books or you see him in the comics, he's in good shape. Not only is he a tactical genius, but he's also very good at fighting. He's, you know, what you saw in there was Dad Bod from, like, you know, you know, like I've drunk too many beers, like, you know, yeah. Martin, go on.
I mean, I didn't watch Mandalorian season 3. It got worse over time, basically. So I'd kind of dipped out by the end of season 2. I was like, yeah, it's one of those things. It feels like it was a really interesting season 1 and really well done, and then it just got boring and uninteresting. So Ahsoka, I mean, I didn't have high hopes. It's a character I don't know, so I haven't watched Rebels. So yeah, absolutely, there's context I'm missing. Obviously,
it's not just Rebels; she was in Clone Wars too.
Yeah, so I missed a lot of that, but I just think it's poorly. Like, for instance, the very first start of that film, when she goes and finds the McGubbin in the cave underneath, and she comes up and the robots are there, and she fights him for a bit. They realize they're not going to beat her in a fight, so they detonate themselves to blow up what looks like a significant part of the planet, right?
Yeah.
So if your objective was to kill her, why didn't the robots just land and detonate? Like,
yeah.
It's so, like, I just don't get it. It's like it's just when they sat around and wrote the story for this, in the first 5 minutes I've gone, hang on a second. Why are they even fighting? Their best weapon is clearly the core of them, which detonate, and the explosion is massive. It's like a nuclear explosion goes off with like 3 or 4 of them. Why didn't they do that in the first place? So, and
my question is, why don't they do it later as well?
Well, I mean, just again and again and again, there's just times when you're just like, what are we doing? Like, and as Pete said, the whole movie is about one set of people over here and a set of people over here, and all that happens is by the end they're in this. They've done this. That's the only thing that's happened in the whole thing. Thrawn is the worst strategist I've ever seen. He makes countless errors throughout that movie, and if he's the next big threat, I don't think there's a threat. It's like there's so yeah, it was, by the time you got to the end of it, you're like, well, this was just pointless.
I'll give you a list of the problems I've got with it. Right, number 1, right,
Space whales.
This is my best Ahsoka impression I've got. Like, how many times does she do this dramatic arm folding? Like, you know, there's so many things wrong with it. I mean, fundamentally, she's a, you know, Rosario Dawson is normally pretty good in most stuff. She's fucking shit in this. I'm sorry, she's shit. Like,
she doesn't have anything to do. That's the problem. It's focused more on the Rebels characters than it is Ahsoka. It's not an Ahsoka show. It's Rebels 2.0 live action. That's all it is.
But she's also she's saying the lines like she's reading them. There's no emotion behind any of it. Like, you know?
It's Dave Filoni's writing. He's a good, like, narrative writer. He's not a very good dialogue writer. It's the same. That's why he works so well with George Lucas.
Yeah,
that's why he works so well with George Lucas. It's because Lucas can set up a world, fantastic character development, cannot write dialogue for shit. Dave Filoni's the same.
Well, the other thing, like, I mean, the lightsaber battles. I mean, my God, she's so slow. She's so slow. She looks like a 70-year-old woman swinging them lightsabers. Like, come on.
I think she's supposed to be about that age, isn't she?
Yeah, but her race lives longer, so she shouldn't be.
Yeah,
that's the point. And of course, she's a Jedi, and they're quicker than most people anyway. So, I mean, then you got like the Rey moment with Sabine, where all of a sudden she masters the Force. You know, she goes from not being able to use it to all of a sudden being able to throw Ezra. It's so many things wrong.
You don't need to be a good lightsaber fighter anymore, because lightsabers don't kill people. So there's no danger in them either. You
saw the clip at the beginning.
Where you might as well hit each other with foam swords at this point, because they don't do any damage. So, you know,
you saw the clip in the intro, right, where runs it through, and then I added the bit where it's just a flesh wound from Monty Python. Says it all, don't it? And like, you know, back in Phantom Menace, when Qui-Gon got run through, he died, but not anymore.
Qui-Gon was a pussy, mate.
You only die if you're male. That's what it is.
I've just finished playing Jedi Survivor, and you kill essentially 90% of the Imperial, like, Galactic Empire in that game with a lightsaber. Yet Sabine gets stabbed
Yeah.
And then
Just a
she's
flesh
fine.
wound.
She's fine.
Yeah.
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 Never mind that it would have gone through her intestines and probably her liver as well. She's fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But I mean, I feel like we're concentrating mainly on Ahsoka. I mean, Mandalorian season 3. I mean, that was just a bait and switch, wasn't it? That was like, oh look, this guy that you like, Din Djarin. Well, guess what? It's not about him anymore. It's now about her. Like, like you know that if they do another series, it's not going to be him. It's going to be her now. Bo-Katan.
I think that's the point. I think that's what they wanted to do. I think they realized that they've gone as far as they could go with Din Djarin and Grogu, and now need to focus more on
they've actually wrote themselves into
woman.
a corner, which is why there's a problem, right? So apparently the rumor is, because obviously Grogu went out of it at the end of Mando season 2, right? And he then he went off with Luke, right? Now, from what they're saying, these are the rumors that come out about it, was that basically Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were told, well, look, we're not including Luke in anything moving forwards. So if you want Grogu, you're going to have to find a way of bringing him back into the series. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to use him. And of course, he's their biggest merchandiser, right? So that's why they wrote him back in that terrible series, Book of Boba Fett. That's a whole nother story. That's why they brought him back in, right? Of course, if you didn't watch that and then you watched season 3 of Mando, you're like, well, where the hell did he come from? Like, But that's why they brought him back in. And that's the problem with this whole show, because what they should have done was kept Grogu out of it, and we should have seen Din Djarin go back to being a bounty hunter. Because effectively, the story that Din Djarin has now got was supposed to be Boba Fett's. But originally, Kathleen Kennedy wouldn't let him have Boba Fett, which is why they made up their own character, Din Djarin. And then, of course, later on, when she did let him have Boba Fett, well, they'd already used that story, which is why the Book of Boba Fett is a load of crap. So this is all their own doing. This is the thing. They write themselves into corners and make a mess of it. And this is why, I suppose, why they started going with the Bo-Katan, because it's like, well, what Mando have we got left that we haven't ruined? Oh, yeah, Bo-Katan, she's around. Let's use her.
Yeah, but with the Mando, they should have focused more on trying to bring Mandalore back instead of going to a planet where Jack Black is married to Lizzo.
Oh God!
There was no focus plot wise.
Oh no!
That season had no focus at all. It was just like, we had a great first season, we had a fantastic second season, which ended with Grogu going off to train and Din Djarin going back to the life of being a bounty hunter, to the woman who shakes her ass on MTV and Jack Black, who plays Jack Black in everything, showing up for a filler episode that was not just shit, just didn't have a place in the series even as a filler episode. It didn't work. Just
I put
the third season had some good moments. The third season had some good moments. Like, I like the idea of focusing on the remaining Mandalorians, but that shouldn't have been the focus. They should have stuck with the whole lone wolf and cub type of samurai western aesthetic theme that they were going for, instead of chucking pop culture icons, or I suppose whatever they're called, if they're called icons these days, in thankless cameos that have no reason being in Star Wars thing. Once you start doing that with something like Star Wars, you've become The Simpsons.
Yes.
So The Simpsons started out as the anti-sitcom. It was the anti-sitcom. And then Family Guy comes out and starts having these celebrity cameos. Which, like, I mean, Simpsons has always had celebrity cameos, but it's these are it becomes a parody then. So it's not Star Wars. Star Wars is this vast universe of multiple different races, planets, and different types. There's smugglers, there's the Imperial, there's Jedi, there's such a vast universe of the entire galaxy of Star Wars that there are stories that you could tell. The one thing Disney did to fuck themselves over was to basically say that the extended universe is now no longer canon, which then takes out 99.9% of the stories that they could tell, which is why we end up with season 3 of The Mandalorian, which, because they have nothing to write, they've got no ideas what they're doing. Same thing happened with the Disney Star Wars films, the trilogy. They had no idea where they were going to go. They started with The Force Awakens, which ended in a way that, okay, Rey's now realized that she's Force sensitive. She's going to go and find Luke. Luke's going to train her. She'll become the Last Jedi. Shows up in The Last Jedi. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
They shat on Luke Skywalker, completely changed the character of Luke Skywalker. This is Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
The person in The Last Jedi is not Luke Skywalker.
No, I mean... No.
And because of how badly Rian Johnson fucked up The Last Jedi, they had to try and retcon everything for The Rise of Skywalker. They had zero idea where they were going to go with that film. The Princess Leia sequences look so weird because obviously Carrie Fisher had passed away by the time they were filming it. So her scenes just look out of place. It's like they plopped the green screen version of her in.
Yeah.
And then bringing Palpatine back doesn't make any sense. It's just the whole 3 films had a fair starting point with The Force Awakens and then just derailed themselves, and which is, I think, is why Disney were trying to get some money back by doing the TV shows, but they've screwed that up as well, because Obi-Wan Kenobi was awful, Book of Boba Fett was awful, The Mandalorian season 3 was awful. Andor is the only saving grace that universe has, because it's written by someone who doesn't really give a shit about Star Wars. Because Tony Gilroy isn't a Star Wars fan. He's a yeah.
Sorry. Obviously, I know time's running away from us, and I know Martin wanted to mention a couple of other programs.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking, because I think we've all got lots to say about Star Wars in general.
Yeah.
I'm thinking what we need to do is we need to do a Star Wars stream at some point, I think. I really do, because just judging by how much Pete's saying, and I mean, I know there's plenty I could say, but we just ain't got the time. So I'm thinking maybe we need to do a Star Wars stream, don't we? That's what we need.
There's a separate.
So, I think that's what we'll do, and we'll get you back on for that.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
No more Star Wars.
Right. Okay. So, Martin, there was a couple of other shows you wanted to add.
Yeah, just to put a nice slice of bread on this shit sandwich, so we end on some nice things. Because there's been some good shows as well, right? So, I thought obviously there's problems with it, but I still think it was good. The Last of Us TV show was good representation of the video game. The video game, I think, is amazing. It doesn't matter what you think of the second game. The first video game is amazing. Again, a game that hits differently when you're a dad, but it's a great game. And I think the TV show did a really good representation of that, and actually was quite enjoyable to watch. I actually quite like Gen V, which is the sort of side show of The Boys. So if you've not seen that, it's actually all right. It's pretty much race. If you enjoyed The Boys, you'll probably like Gen V. I also really liked the Castlevania, the next one, so Castlevania Noctura. If you've liked the previous Castlevania cartoon, it's like an adult cartoon, basically. I think this one, again, was really, really good to watch. And then I popped down and really, like, if you've got kids, and they probably watched this already, but I really enjoyed the One Piece show. That was genuinely, I don't know anything about the manga or the anime. I don't know if it's an anime or a manga. I don't really know the difference between the two.
It's an anime.
But as a good romp of an adventure TV show, like, this is something that should be on at like 5-6 o'clock on a Saturday night on BBC One or something like that, right? It's just a damn good show of an adventure with this character going after this one piece of treasure. It's all about pirates, all different powers. I'm probably sounding like a really old man to young people that know this backwards and forwards, but I just genuinely enjoyed that show. So yeah, that was some good stuff there. I'd put down Reacher as well. That's come back. I actually really like the Reacher show. That's definitely worth watching. And I know one my wife really enjoyed, and I kind of watched it with her. I did quite enjoy it. Was that Succession as well? That was pretty good. Sort of a big sort of US.
I thought you was going to say The Night Agent, because that was quite good.
Night Agent.
Yeah,
that doesn't ring a bell with me, but
that's quite good. If you haven't watched that, give that a watch.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought I'd just rattle off a few shows there if people haven't seen them. I definitely recommend all of those ones I just said. So there we go.
There's a couple I've got, but these are only if you're into certain things. I mean, Arnold, obviously, it's about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's all about his bodybuilding, his movie career. You know, it covers everything, even his political career. I really enjoyed that. The other one, this would probably only be if you're really into Formula One, but Brawn, that was good.
Was good.
Yeah. I thought that was great. I mean, because you knew, I'm a Formula One fan, and you knew some of what went on with that team. But when you see like the whole story, it's like, wow, I never knew any of this was going on. You know, like the fact that they thought the car was illegal and they were trying to get it banned. And
it's probably my favourite season of F1. When Jenson Button won the championship.
Yeah,
that to me was one of the time, because that was back when F1 was on Channel 4, so you could watch it for free technically.
I had one of the hats. I had one of the golden hats.
And obviously he won the championship, and it was a really exciting season of F1 that year. And now you've kind of got this story to go along with it of obviously how Brawn sort of came to be. I think for £1 it started off with, or $1 or whatever it was.
Pound. It was £1.
So yeah, I agree. That was a great series. Actually, it's on the Disney Plus, isn't it?
Well, I didn't watch it on Disney Plus.
Oh well, it's
I
on Disney Plus.
Subscription a long time ago.
He's obviously it's
What's they giving Disney my money? I can fuck off.
You filthy pirate. That's what you are. No, great pick. I think. Yeah. Well, nice pick.
Pete, anything you can think of TV wise, or
The Bear on Disney? That's pretty good if you like food. And the other one I've got is Arnold, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
I did actually write down the Sly documentary as well that is on Netflix.
I haven't seen that.
It's not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be like the Arnold documentary, but it's a single film documentary, and it only really covers like Rocky. And I'm a big Rocky fan, so I quite enjoyed it, but I was a bit disappointed in the fact that it didn't really do. I was expecting the same type of thing as the Arnold documentary, but it's mainly just the making of Rocky.
Does it cover any of the part where he's homeless and he refused to sell it unless he was in it?
So
it covers all that?
It covers that era of him before obviously selling the script to Rocky, and I think it goes up to round about the early 80s when he does like Fist and Lords of Flatbush and the other one, Paradise Alley, and stuff like that. But it also talks about his life as well, more so focusing on his life than his films. Whereas obviously with Arnold, it covered quite a lot. It covered everything from where he was in Austria as a child, his dream of going to Hollywood, how like even in the 70s he was a millionaire because he bought a load of properties and made a ton of money and stuff like that. That's what was really interesting about Arnold. But Sly is basically going over stuff we already knew.
Yeah.
So we knew that he sold his dog. We knew that he was with Henry Winkler, who helped him get Rocky financed because of the Lords of Flatbush and stuff like that. So it's an interesting documentary. It's just I would have preferred it if it had been like the Arnold documentary and set over certain parts
I'll be honest,
instead of just one.
I'll be honest with Arnold. I mean, even a lot of that you already know, because the thing is, I used to bodybuild, so I followed a lot of what Arnold's done in his career for obvious reasons. So a lot, even with that, a lot of it I did actually know. So I suppose to me it's no different. I still enjoyed Arnold, so I probably would.
And there are other Arnold Schwarzenegger documentaries as well, right? There are a lot about.
Well, I've got Pumping Iron, which is all about. I've got that. That's really good. That is. Yeah. That was his last season of bodybuilding before he left, and then he come back again.
Yeah.
Someone's saying here, anyone watch Fubar? No. Is this anyone that any user watched?
It's a Tango and Cash reference. That's all I know.
I watched the first
Well,
episode.
it's a reference in a lot
rubbish.
of them, but yeah.
I remember seeing that pop up. Yeah.
Okay, it's not something I've watched.
Yeah, it's
right. Okay, well, I think we should wrap it up here. I mean, we're at the 2.5 hour mark, so I think it is a good time to wrap it up. But yeah, we'll definitely have to arrange a Star Wars stream. I think because I know I had plenty more I could have said, just no time to permit it, and Pete clearly had more to say, and I think Martin was sitting there thinking, I've got more to say, but we ain't got time. So I do think that we do need to do a stream on it. So yeah. But thanks for coming on, Pete. It's been great having you on again.
Hey, no worries, no worries.
And
yeah, you too, Martin. Yeah, I'm
pleasure as
I
always.
think to be available on most Wednesdays. So if you're doing this on a Wednesday and you want me on, let me know.
Yeah. Well, I've got to be honest. I don't know about a Wednesday actually because I recently got moaned at for doing Wednesdays. So I don't know. We'll have to work it out. But yeah. So Martin, as always, great doing the stream with you. It's always a pleasure,
buddy. Yeah,
does anyone want to plug anything before we get out of here? Anything you got coming up on the channel?
Go to my channel. There's a new video up. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I watched your recent video.
I'm not big on socials.
Yeah, usual stuff for me. Monday night is always Monday Night Retro, so 8 o'clock on my channel on Monday nights, and then other bits and pieces coming out. But the Monday night 8 o'clock is always my live stream for retro gaming, and
I should add that everyone who's on here, their channels are in the link, like in the description below. I keep saying that I'm going to do my unboxing of my Battlestar Galactica Centurion. Now, the reason I haven't done this is because I actually don't know where I put it. Would you believe? I don't actually know where I put it.
That sounds like a hoarder's problem. That does.
No, it's basically, well, you know, Martin, obviously I had surgery last year, so leaning over things is not easy for me. So it could actually be in plain sight. I just can't see it. Or it could be in the loft. I don't know. But yeah, it's either behind something. It's literally as simple as that, behind another box, or it's in the loft. So yeah, it's just not easy for me to try and find it. So, but I've got also I've got a few nice bits for Christmas. One of them I actually want to do a video for. You already know probably what that is, Martin. I think I already told you. And at some point I've got to do Second Chance Comics with Chef. This time it should be on his channel. If he arranges it, that is, because he hasn't yet. So I'll probably have to be kicking his
6
ass.
months from now, yeah.
Yeah. So we should be.
He's not here, so I can slag him off. It's fine. He's not even in the chat, so I know he's. You'll never see this.
He's probably in bed, mate. He's probably in bed.
Yeah,
He's work tomorrow, isn't he?
That's why he had internet problems and then just went to bed.
Yeah. Right, okay. Let's get out of here, shall we? It's been a great stream, but let's get out of here.
Yeah. Bye all.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Let's camera action.
You hope
Don't advertise.
you don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself.
But
Go f*** yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
well, let me.
That it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that
She's
is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Ah, fuck you.